They, the dream people, the ones that gave me this job.
You want to know what the best thing that happened to me? After having to cut off my own arm, is handicapped parking at the damn mall.
I guess I'm just not used to being chased around a mall in the middle of the night by killer robots.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
Howdy and welcome to What Makes It Scary, a seasonal podcast unleashing the fear behind your not-so-favorite and your not-so-favorite horror movies. I am your host this week, Jody Henderson of Clever Girl Effects Studios, and with me, as always, Alex Vincent of Mr. Red Productions.
I have a headache.
That doesn't even begin.
No. Tip of the iceberg. So
how hard this week has been.
This has been a tough week. Last year, around this time, we did a podcast called What Makes It Scary. One of the episodes was worst horror movies. Now, that episode was a lot of fun, I feel like.
And I think it was our most successful episode.
Probably. A lot, like, that's the one that we tell people to watch and everything.
Everyone had a real good response to it. So we're like, of course we're going to do another one this season. Fuck these movies.
I don't know what happened. Last year, we had all these movies that were like, oh man, I can't wait to talk about this. And to be fair, we have some of those here today.
Yeah.
But we also have movies that we were watching and just being, the credits rolled on, there were two of these movies that the credits rolled that you were like,
oh, okay.
I'll never get that time back.
Yeah, they were awful, awful movies.
So I'm excited to talk about them. I want this episode to be catharsis for us. I want us to just purge these movies
and
from
move
our brains.
on.
We have been like I said this in the last one, we've been mainlining terrible movies. It's not a good state to be in.
Mm-mm.
There's a podcast called How Did This Get Made where they just do bad movies. I don't know how
I feel so bad for those people.
I don't know
I feel so bad for them.
I can't imagine.
Of course, they probably don't try to do 8 movies in 1 week.
No, to be fair, one movie.
Yeah.
They talk about one movie. It's a lot more manageable. We were like, what if that, but like on cocaine?
Right.
What if we just inject these movies into our blood vessels?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we reached out to Twitter.
Yeah.
We reached out to our horror community.
We wanted to hear from you.
We reached out to our personal friends, our own experiences with bad horror movies, and this is the list that we came up with.
Yes.
I'm surprised. When I asked these people last year, I'm always surprised at like how many repeats I get.
Sure.
And this year the same thing, but complete different movies that were repeated.
Yeah.
I don't know if they just saw it on the list and were like, "Oh yeah, that is a terrible movie," or
maybe different people,
maybe those movies got on different streaming services, and so they were watched more. Who knows?
More in the cultural mind. I'm excited to talk about them. Do we want to run down the list?
Let's run down the list
quickly. And
our 8 worst horror movies of 2020.
Well, hold on. They're not movies from 2020.
From the season 2 of What Makes It Scary.
Right. We have
2020.
The 2020 episode of this
is number 1.
Number 1.
ATM.
Adam. Most people spell it out.
Yeah, most people.
ATM 2012, Josh Peck, you might know it as.
Yes. And then we have Dead End.
Dead End. This movie came out in 2003.
4, I believe.
4, okay. This was an early 2000s movie, and it's kind of about a road trip. We'll get into the specifics, but I want people to know, because I feel like most people might not have heard of Dead End.
Right. Then we have The Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man, classic horror movie, classic terrible movie.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get into it.
We have a kind of repeat offender.
Yes.
Of this Saw 3D.
Saw 3D, the 6th Saw movie, the worst Saw movie.
The final Saw
Yeah,
movie.
The final one until I think Jigsaw.
Jigsaw was the one that came after it.
Yeah.
Yep. Then we have Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
It's Garbage Day. That movie. We're talking about that one. Oh my God.
I know most of you don't know what that meme comes from, but it
comes from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Oh, wow. I can't wait. I'm so excited. All right.
Then we have Chopping Mall.
Chopping Mall, 1980s, Roger Corman. Well, Roger Corman helped make it. Anyway.
Okay. Then we have Tusk.
Tusk.
Starring Justin Long.
Justin Long, Kevin Smith joint.
Yes.
Giving people an idea
Yep.
what these movies are.
And then another repeat offender,
Yes.
which is Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare.
Yeah.
Which is the 6th installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Two 6 movies.
That should tell people
That
things.
should tell you something.
Do not let your series go into 6.
I will say though, what's the name? Oh no. Oh, it's blanking. Friday the 13th, Part 6. One of the best ones. That's where he resurrects and is like zombie Jason. At that
that
point.
one's wild.
Oh, it
Absolutely
is.
wild.
It is, but it's not as bad as that
Right.
series gets.
All right, so like always, we're going to take them 2 by 2.
2 by 2.
We're going to pair them off against each other, and then we'll pair them again, and then we'll do our final 2 for the end of the episode.
It's September Madness.
Yes, it is. All right.
Cool.
Are you ready?
I've been ready since the last time we recorded.
Okay, we're going to start back up at the beginning of the list with ATM.
ATM.
This came out in 2012.
The year that
we started dating.
Oh.
I think we watched this.
We watched it real early.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I think we were just wanting a subdued, horror movie to watch because I do get scared so easily.
Yeah, we didn't want something too intense.
Yeah, and so we were like, oh, yeah, this looks okay. And so we did. So we watched it.
I really consider this to be a B movie. Like, it is, there's nothing really special about it. It's not the worst movie, but it's very slow. It's got a very, kind of boring pace to it.
It's got good bones.
It does. It has...
It just needs more.
The idea...
But what they have in it that's perfect...
Yes. Here we go.
...is Josh Peck.
Josh Peck is in the movie. His name is Corey.
Yeah. I am a huge fan of Josh Peck as a person.
We're Peck heads. Wait a minute. Wait a second.
I didn't approve of that name.
I've already made the t-shirt, so I hope you do.
We watch Josh Peck's YouTube series.
Specifically, the blindfold fast food challenge ones. Those are very funny.
With his friend Jonah and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to them. If you're just into, fast food.
Yeah.
Fast
foodness.
Yeah, we watch a lot of fast food videos.
We really do. It's weird, right?
I really like that culture. We're huge fans of The Founder and that
right.
type of stuff.
Anything that's about a place that you could just get food quickly, I'm all about it and not have to leave my car.
That's not so much what it is about me. But anyway,
right. So
Josh Peck is such a delightful person. You can really tell that he's just a beam of light in the world that's so dark.
Okay.
And so I just shout out to him.
Sure.
I like him in this movie.
Yeah, he's fun.
I don't think the writing for his character, he's supposed to be kind of like this loser, almost like a bully, just mean type of guy.
Right. He's kind of the jerk. He's the hot-headed one.
A jerk.
He's the one who, when things start to hit the fan, he's like, I'm going to go out in there and kill him or whatever.
Right, okay.
Everybody else is like, let's...
So now that we've said what the best thing is, let's get into the story of ATM.
Right. So if you've seen the movie Phone Booth, it's kind of a little bit like a horror version of that. These 3 people, they work together. It's a Christmas... this is a Christmas movie, by the way. Very important to know. They get in a car together. They're kind of unlikely friends. They're like a ragtag group almost.
Yeah, it's like Josh Peck's character, Corey, and the
main character, David.
The good guy, David.
Yeah.
They're
friends.
Yeah, Corey is like, David, Emily's gonna be quitting, and she's the office sweetheart,
and David has always had the hots for her.
Right.
So it's like, now's your chance.
Yeah, you got to do it. Tonight's their last working night, and whatever. So he kind of asks her to go out and get a drink or lunch or whatever. He actually says lunch, which is really funny. But
the backstory of this movie is that he previously asked her out, but he asked her to a gathering.
A gathering.
He's like, would you attend a gathering with me?
Which then Corey goes into making fun of him, what is this, Magic the Gathering?
Right. What are witches?
Wizards? Yeah. All this good stuff. So they and she's like, yeah, I'd love to. So they get in the car, but it's like, oh crap, I have to take Corey home because he's a bum.
Yeah. And he's a real third
he's
wheel.
He's a moocher.
Yeah. But he's like, not only do I need to stop and get food, I also
have to stop at the ATM.
Stop into the ATM and get cash because the place doesn't. Okay, I want to jump a little bit ahead and say that this movie is so contrived. Everything about it getting to this point and everything that happens during it and everything that after, it's so...
Weak sauce?
It feels like a first draft of how they would get all this stuff together. I really think a couple,
Just a little more time.
A little more time, a little bit more importance to anything that happens.
Right.
It feels like it was so random how it happened, even though there's a twist ending. And so we're not really going through this movie frame by frame, are we?
Right.
I can give away the twist ending.
Yes.
It's not really a twist, but the bad guy in this movie, which we haven't talked about yet, has been planning this and is like very carefully orchestrated events so that he's not showing up on cameras and he knows where everyone's going to be. And yet, everything had to happen so randomly for
it to be perfect.
Yeah, these three had to get to the ATM so that there would be like victims and there would be somebody to blame. And they had to all three of them leave their cell phones in the car. I actually don't think David has one.
He does it. The battery died.
The battery dies. Emily's
is in her purse, which she left in the car.
Unlocked. She knows the car doesn't lock.
What woman does that?
Yeah,
what woman?
I don't understand. And I think Josh, his phone is also in the car. So nobody has their phones. They all have to. I
know this is 2012, but we still carried our phones everywhere.
Right. The car has like tools in it. Because this guy, the killer, doesn't bring tools with him. He finds the tools in these cars and he starts using them. So they were clearly part of his plan. It's very
right.
Like
so they all will end up in this ATM. It's wintertime.
Yeah, it's the dead of winter. It's -5 degrees.
Yeah, and
by the way, the ATM. I don't understand this because I've never seen this before.
these are more popular ATMs that are in cities.
Right. It's
you
a booth.
Yeah, it's a huge room that you like have to swipe your card to even get into.
Yeah.
So it's like a bank.
Box,
it's a bank specific ATM.
Right.
So.
And there's the actual the ATM kiosks inside.
Right, and that's what keeps you safer because if you're just on the street, you know, because exactly because like cities, you're walking everywhere most of the time, so it keeps you safer that way.
It makes sense. I've just never seen this.
There's also an episode of Friends where like Chandler gets stuck in one of those booths because the power breaks down and so it locks, and he's in there with like his high school crush or whatever.
That's another thing. Not to interrupt.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
At one point, this guy makes the power go out by like, breaking the light,
cutting the cord
to the power. And because this is a movie and you need to see it, there's like a backup generator that makes the lights go on, but not the heat.
The heat go out.
It's again very contrived. It's like we need this to happen. We need the heat to go out so that it's more. They're gonna freeze to death. They have to get out. They can't just wait. But they also need the lights to be on so that they can see what's happening in the movie.
Right. So all three of these characters get trapped in this ATM. They go to leave. They see this guy in this big winter coat with like a fur hood.
Yeah, he's got a hood on. You can't see his face.
Which, I mean, I have that coat.
Yeah,
so
and so does everybody in the movie.
Yeah, the next convention that I'm allowed to go to, I'm going to cosplay as this character.
Wow, what a good...
Because it'll be so easy.
What a good pull for an 8-year-old movie.
Yeah. That everybody knows and everybody loves.
Yeah.
That we didn't have to, search the internets to find.
Right. So he's basically kind of stalking, haunting them the whole time.
Right, he kills a random person to like show that he's gonna torture them.
A guy who's walking his dog, and this dog just like barks at his owner. Yeah,
lays
a good
down
boy.
next to him.
Yeah, and then he runs off because he's like, I'm gonna go get help, and we never see him again.
He got the help.
I assume. I assume he was the one who got the cops.
Yeah.
They set off the sprinklers later. That didn't work. It was the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's how this story kind of goes on. The guys are trying everything they can to, set off alarms, like kicking the ATM machines and all this other stuff. They're constantly watching the guy. He keeps walking around. It's getting colder and colder. They're starting to,
freeze to death.
They try to run to the car, but he's cut the line, so...
Yeah, at one point, I can't remember how Corey, Josh Peck, gets out and makes a run for it, and this guy has strung up,
he just decides to do it.
Right.
Oh, yeah, he, strings up, piano wire.
So he runs, chest first into it. I've done this before, not piano wire, but there was, a clothesline. Literally clotheslined. I was a kid. I was running. It was my grandma's place, my grandparents' place. And I face first, not at full speed. I was just starting to take off. It was so painful, and I was so scared of just random threads and cords just lingering out there that I would run into. I still kind of do this when I'm in a place that I'm unfamiliar with or it's dark. I'll keep my hand up because I don't want to do this. Where
piano wire,
that stuff is thin too.
Well, that and it's like.
What?
It can, like, cut you badly. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they didn't go with just, like, the decapitate him or whatever. But it's Josh Peck, and we want this character to be around a little bit longer.
Right.
So
he does get stabbed,
Yeah,
though.
he gets stabbed in the stomach. The killer leaves the knife in him.
Instead of being like, I'm a serial killer,
I'm gonna take that with me. Yeah, so, and the other two think he's dead.
Yeah.
So they're like, crap, it's just us two.
Might as well have sex, right?
No, they don't do that.
They should. Keep yourself warm. Yeah, they're freezing to death because at one point, the killer grabs a hose and starts piping it in through the vents so that it's filling up with water. Now, you brought up the point that this is, like, as the movie keeps telling you, the dead of winter, it's -5 degrees.
Yeah, I don't know what pipe is working.
You'd think this water
did he hook it up right to the fire hydrant?
Yeah, probably. It's like deep underground or something. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
They look out, they see that Josh Peck is still alive. They somehow get him back in.
If you're ever in a horror movie and you get wounded and are lying on the ground, act like you're dead. Do not pretend. Do not try to get away. Do not stand up.
That's my plan.
Yeah, just lie there until everything's over.
Especially if it's like the dead of winter. A lot of people survive that.
Your blood doesn't move that fast, which is part of the problem. But also, if you're bleeding to death,
that helps you not bleed out as fast.
Right,
so stay out there.
Just maybe if you can, maybe try to roll under the car if at all possible.
Whatever. There are many times in this movie that these characters could have just like booked it and just kept running because that killer can't get all of them. Like
you were saying, they see that he's alive, right? And instead of doing anything else,
she even says, she's like, we should run to the road, and then he's like, no, we gotta go back. The two of them are in the ATM. They run out. They open the door. They run out. They go to him, pick him up, and like you said, that's the perfect. The guy's behind the ATM at this point. He's like working on more mechanic stuff, and they don't just run away. They bring him back, and then they see he like eventually finds out that they're out of the ATM, and he comes around the side of the building and trips. Thank God.
Funny. Yeah.
Otherwise, what would happen?
Giving them enough time to get into the building again, but still just leave. He clearly doesn't have a gun because he has many opportunities to shoot them. They keep theorizing maybe he has a gun. He doesn't have a gun. They should know that.
Yeah, because they're like, maybe it's bulletproof glass, and the guy's like, it's not.
It's not, right. So they could have gotten away so easily.
I think they are.
It seems like it should be, but in any event. So it
goes on. The guy hooks up a hose. It starts flooding the ATM. The girl's like, we found a lighter in the coat. Let's start a fire in the trash can.
And then hold it up
to activate... the fire sprinkler system, and that will get the cops.
But they can't reach it, so she has to get on David's shoulders, and then they finally do it. The sprinklers go off.
He slips.
He slips. She falls. And bashes her head.
Oh, it's sickening.
It's brutal. It, breaks the shelf that she hits.
A metal shelf.
Yeah, it just, shatters it. David dies. Corey dies, I think, because he's been stabbed. He makes it in, but then he's just, freezing to death as well. And then I think this kills Emily.
She just instantly dies.
Yeah, head bashed open.
Which is just, it's so sad.
And then about this time, at this point, the guy drives the car into the ATM and shatters it.
Which I don't know how he did that if he cut the cords, right?
Yeah,
I'm just
maybe
there's
he put
these little pieces that I'm just
right.
Meh.
They try to get away into the car earlier, but he had cut the ignition, so he couldn't. But somehow he crashes the car into the thing. It's broken open, and then the cops show up. He gets out, and he's trying to do some stuff. I think he fights the guy.
Tries to, but the cops immediately show up. They're they see David there, and he's screaming he's gotta get away, he's gotta go away, and cops do. Right. They're just
they just arrest him.
Hands up, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, this frustrates me. They are completely ignoring everything he says. If I believe in real life, if the cops show up and somebody, even if he doesn't need to say, it's not me, I'm innocent, it's somebody else. He doesn't have to say that. He can just be saying anything that implies there's something else that they need to be doing. Because
there's enough cops there that you would think that they would
be looking for this guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he hasn't accomplished. If I were in this situation, I would be like, yeah, you got me, okay, but I have a partner, he's over there, something.
If I was in David's situation, I would just be like, fuck it, the cops are here, I'm gonna live. That would be honestly, I'd be like,
yeah.
I'm gonna live.
You don't think he was concerned about the guy getting away?
That would not be my first thought.
Okay.
My first thought would be I'm safe. Well. And then I would be listen, there was a guy, you have to believe me.
Right. And then so there's a kind of wrap-up scene where it's revealed that this guy has been avoiding the cameras. The police blame him, and he's basically David, right? David. And he's basically arrested and charged for all of this. You see flashes from all the cameras, and again, it's so contrived because everything had to happen so specifically to get them to think that it was him. So. And this reveal is just a very poor one because there's no dialogue. It's just you're seeing things happen.
You're just like, yeah, I was there. I saw that.
Right. So I didn't love this.
And then he just goes back and he pulls out another sheet for a different ATM. And is going to
start the cycle starts over. You made the joke that it'd be so funny if the
movie just kept going and it was a whole nother story.
Yeah, it's like this movie's an hour and a half, which is pretty short for a movie. It's like,
perfect. It's perfect for a horror movie. And perfect.
We were joking, what if there was what if this was a 3-hour thing, just a complete new characters, new story? It'd be very funny.
Yeah.
But luckily it's not. The movie ends.
And that's ATM.
Yeah, it's just a sleepy movie. It's weird. The characters are dumb in it. There's a security guard at one point who shows up and they're like, "Help us, there's a killer, he's right behind you." And he just keeps walking forward. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah,
what are you doing
windy
here?
Out, they can't hear it.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
All this other stuff.
So that's ATM 2012, Josh Peck. Any other closing thoughts?
I don't mind it.
Yeah, it's not the worst.
It definitely makes me never want to go to an ATM.
Sure. That's for
so
sure.
It did its job.
Do you think that's you know what? This is an anti-capitalist movie, which I appreciate.
Sure.
Their search for money is what got them killed. Right. So
it just makes you, and all women feel this.
Yeah.
You just have to be so aware of your surroundings constantly.
That's true.
And that's what this movie is.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I like Josh Peck.
Yeah.
These characters are fine. They have some development in them. The killer's really disappointing.
He's nothing. He's just nothing.
And he's not even as threatening as you want him
to
be.
If he was super tall maybe.
Or had a really big weapon, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. He doesn't have a weapon. He finds a crowbar again.
Well, he
in
had
the car.
a knife.
Sure, he had a knife.
I guess.
So
Right. Well, that's ATM.
That's ATM.
So it's going to be pinned off against Dead End.
Dead End. I had no idea. I had never heard of this movie until we went to watch it. You'd seen it.
Yes. I have seen Dead End now 3 times in my life.
Wow.
Yeah. And it is honestly one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen. I remember being in middle school and we went to Family Video and we were just looking for the scary movie to rent and Dead End looks
Dead
good.
End. It's got Dead in the title.
It's a road sign that says Dead End.
Oh, that's
I think it has blood on it or whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool. So then we start on this journey.
By the way, we're not talking about the Wrong Turn, 2 or something like that? Dead End?
No, this is just Dead End.
Yeah.
Made in 2004. It's the family of the Harringtons.
This is also a Christmas movie.
Yeah, this takes place on Christmas Eve. They're in the car heading to Grandma's house.
To Grandmother's house they go.
Yes.
Through the woods.
I think on the road, yeah.
They make a reference to...
I think they do.
I think they make a reference to... So I don't know, not the main character, but the patriarch of this family, Frank, he's played by Ray Wise, who I talked in the Chucky episode about Laura Palmer's mother from Twin Peaks, Sarah Palmer. This guy plays Leland Palmer, Laura's father, and that show is all about Laura has been murdered, and he's upset about it. Obviously, everybody is, and he's constantly crying about, "Oh, Laura!" And so to hear him this movie, his wife in this movie's name is Laura. So to hear this guy just keep talking sadly about Laura and everything, it makes me laugh.
You instant, you're like, "Oh my gosh, look who it is!" And I had no idea.
Yeah.
So they're in the car. Mom and Dad are sitting in front. We have the daughter, Marion,
named after the Psycho character?
Possibly.
Probably.
Then we have the son, Richard. And then the daughter's boyfriend, Brad.
Yes. This is the weirdest character to me because...
Brad?
Yes.
Not Richard?
Well, sure.
Richard's the worst
They're all
character.
weird. They're all weird. But the setup here, the thing is, it's a family, but everybody's older. They're not, Richard and Marion aren't kids. They're in their 20s. And her boyfriend is with them. And I get that they would all drive together to save gas money, but they're adults. And it just seems...
I don't think they're as adult as you think they are.
You don't think so?
No.
She's a psychiatrist.
She's in college to be a psychiatrist.
Okay, so she's a college student.
Yeah, she's a college student.
It just felt weird. Plus, it's revealed that
Pratt?
Chris Pratt?
No.
Brad is going to propose to her, so they're clearly of a certain age.
That's not necessarily true.
Okay, it just felt weird to me. I couldn't pin down the edges. It's probably because they're played by 30-year-olds.
Yeah, that's probably it. I pictured the son Richard as he's 17,
he's
still in high school.
Yeah, he's played as very young. Brad has an earring, which Richard in his this guy's very cool.
This movie does not hold up.
No.
Yeah.
Is convinced that this guy is gay and makes all the jokes about it to him. I don't appreciate this, but it is pretty funny in a how bad is this kind of way.
Yes. So they're driving there. They got all the presents in the car.
Yeah.
There's a pie that Mom made. It's a pumpkin and chocolate pie.
It's a pumpkin and chocolate pie. And we're just like, you want people to eat this, right? Why would you make a chocolate and pumpkin pie?
Well, I don't think it sounds that bad.
What are you talking about? It's a chocolate and pumpkin pie.
But apparently it smells like ass.
Oh, yeah, because Richard, it smells like
ass.
His voice is because it's got this weird, tone
vocal fry to it.
Kind of, yeah. Oh, boy.
Anyway, that was my first mark. I'm like, I don't think a chocolate and pumpkin pie would smell that bad.
No, it would. I just don't think they would go together, but I don't know.
So they're driving down the road. They go a back way. This is not the way they normally go to Grandma's house.
They usually take the interstate. It's late at night. Frank's driving.
Yeah, and he's going to drive.
Yes, nobody else will touch the steering wheel if it's the last thing Frank does.
Dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
A dad.
He doesn't want to get tired and fall asleep, so he goes this back way. So he takes the side road,
which he does kind of doze off.
He does. He kind of falls asleep. He wakes up. It reminded me of that scene in The Office where Michael Scott's driving and he falls asleep behind the wheel and takes the sunglasses off. He's like, how long was I out? And he's behind the wheel.
Oh my gosh. It's not a joke. If you're tired, don't drive.
Seriously, being tired
this is not a good thing.
I think they say worse than being drunk and driving. But don't do that either.
Yeah, don't do either.
Right.
So, he dozes off, they swerve, Laura's like, what the hell, Frank? And all this other good stuff. And then they're because they pulled over because they stopped to kind of collect themselves. And they see this woman kind of walking down the edge.
She's dressed in white.
Right.
What is this, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2?
Seriously, she's a gorgeous woman.
She is, yeah.
She's holding a baby. And so they're like, What's wrong?
Right.
Did your car crash? Are you running away from home?
She's kind of catatonic. She's walking,
she's in
but she's
shock.
not really saying anything.
And so then they're like, okay, well, we just passed a cabin, just down the road.
Oh my God, this is
they boot Marion out.
Yeah, this I can't
because she's like, I need some fresh air. I just want to be away from all of you.
We need to slow down because out of anything in these movies that we're going to talk about today, I don't understand this the most. They tell Marion, the daughter, you get out of the car and walk to
the cabin.
In the middle of the night, in the woods, no lights.
Yeah.
The cabin is not within eyeshot. It's nearby, quote unquote, but it's you have to get there. Meanwhile, we're going to put this woman in the car with, by the way, your boyfriend who's not going to get out of the car with you. He's going to stay in the car.
Yeah.
So they put this woman in the car and they're like,
and they just drive off.
Yeah,
they just leave Marion on the street.
Not even to come back for her later. She's like, you're on your own. Get there yourself. And she's like, okay. She's annoyed, but she's like,
she just wanted to be alone. She's like, whatever. I don't care.
So
not my ass. I'd be creeping my car right alongside Marion if she had to walk outside.
Yeah,
I would just lay somebody across somebody else's lap.
Sure, right.
But whatever. So.
I can't believe that, but...
So they all get out of the cabin, or go into the cabin, except for Brad and the woman in white.
Yeah.
He's, trying to get her to talk, to, figure out where, where are you going, where are you from, what's wrong, and all this other stuff. And she finally speaks up. She's like, oh my gosh, my, baby is, so cold. And he's like, well, yeah, it's really cold out here. It's fucking Christmas.
He's like, can I see it? Can I hold it?
No, maybe he is. I can't. It doesn't matter. Yeah, he scoops up the baby and it's completely covered in the blanket and he's like, how does she breathe? And and the woman in white's like, oh, it doesn't matter. She's dead.
Yeah.
And that just makes you that is a scary part in this movie. You're just like, the fuck? And he's like, like, what do you mean? And he like goes to take the blanket off the baby.
I don't think we see
you
it,
don't,
do
you
we?
know, you
No.
don't see anything in this
Right.
movie.
So, right. They keep showing
then all of a
things
sudden the rest of the
off-camera.
family is kind of outside the cabin. Now they're yelling, the phone doesn't work,
Oh,
and all this other
no.
stuff.
You're forgetting the most important part of
No,
this
I'm
movie.
not.
Which is Richard goes off by himself.
This is not that part.
Oh, it's not?
You're jumping the gun.
I don't know.
So they're outside the cabin and they're arguing and whatever, and then all of a sudden this like black, almost like hearse drives by.
Yeah.
Marion just kind of finally got to the cabin. She sees the hearse drive by,
And in the back.
and her boyfriend's in the back,
And
like
he's
the
like-
very back window, like hitting it,
Yeah,
like
pounding
help,
on the
help,
window,
help,
yeah.
and all this other stuff. And so she's like, oh my God, like Brad's, abducted. We got to go get him. So they all, and the white woman is gone.
Right.
Woman in white, not the white. Well, she's white too. But they jump in the car, they try to follow it, and he's like, nowhere. They can't see the car, they can't see anything, and then boom, they like run over something.
Yeah.
They get out of the car, the dad runs over, and it's Brad, like in a bunch of different pieces. Not
But,
that we would know
yeah,
because
you wouldn't know it.
you don't see it.
It's
you just get him
off-screen.
like, don't come over, Marion. It's awful, and all this other stuff. She passes out and all this other
Right.
stuff. So now they're just like, we can't stay out here.
Right.
We got to go get help.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still just on this road. So they're just like, okay, we got to drive. We got to go. We got to find. They finally see a
again,
sign that says Marcotte.
There's no cell phones except I think Brad had one, but when the mother Laura,
Oh yeah,
they're
she like
able
goes
to
to
get it.
make a call.
Oh
yeah.
Wait a second. I think it's like Brad. It's on his person, and Richard is like, "Oh, come on, I'll just do it. You guys are too chicken to get it." So he
Like,
gets
reaches
a
in
pen
it.
and gets it, and there's like his ear is attached to it
From the
somehow.
earring. From his earring.
He has earring, which I think had like a chain on. I can't
A
remember
loop on
exactly.
it, and it's on the antenna of his cell phone, which cell phones used to have.
And so he pulls the ear off, and then he's just holding it for like a solid minute while
Well, because there's
everybody-
not much gore in this movie, they really had to like draw it out and whatever.
And then eventually Laura's like, "Richard, drop that thing," and he's like, "Ugh," and drops it. Anyway, the cell phone doesn't work.
Right, and so they, they're driving, and then they stop again.
Mm-hmm. But you said the sign about Marcotte. They keep seeing these signs from
Like Marcotte, so many miles away, and they're like, okay, like eventually we're gonna come across this town or a crossroad or something, and we're gonna find out where we are.
Yeah.
Well, they stop again for like a break or whatever, and then like Richard now goes off into the woods and like takes out this like
a magazine, a Playboy magazine.
insert of a magazine.
This is insane to me. I believe this does happen earlier because I don't think he would do it at this point. But he has some gum. He's chewing gum. We'll talk about chopping them all later, chewing gum. But he takes his gum out. He sticks it on the tree. Sticks this thing onto it. Gets a lighter out so he can see, and then starts. What does he do, Jode?
Wanking it.
Yeah, in the middle of the woods, standing up with holding a lighter to see
to a picture.
A picture. It is. So
what else were you going to do in 2004?
I guess, that's true. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of dumb things.
This came early. But anyway, he's in the woods again.
Yeah.
Just kind of wandering around, and then the woman in white shows up.
Right. She's like, hey, I'm back.
She's like, hey, and like literally just like takes off her white robe that she had. She's completely naked underneath, has a slamming body. Like this woman is gorgeous.
Nice. I'm into it. This movie's good. Yeah. I like this one.
She goes over to him and starts kissing him. And literally rips his bottom lip off,
and he doesn't even react to it.
No, that's the scariest thing.
Yeah.
It just and I've that image has always stuck in my head of his bottom rip just like ripping off.
Yeah, and it looks like it looks rubbery and disgusting.
The three others, the mom, the dad, and the daughter are at the car still, and they see the black hearse
go by,
drive by again. Now it has Richard, and now we're really gonna freak out because it has Richard, the asshole.
Yeah,
who's just an asshole this entire
But he's
movie.
part of the family at least.
Right. So they're running, they get in the car, they're gonna run down, I'm gonna get him, don't worry, don't stop panicking, and all of a sudden they run over something again. Like, wouldn't you know, like, don't whatever.
Quit driving.
And this time it's Richard's body. It's been burned to death. Like it's been
weird.
singed, it's been set on fire or whatever.
Right.
So Laura, the mom, completely loses her shit.
Right. When Brad died, Marion kind of went also catatonic. She was kind of in a vegetative state. What's the term? I don't know. But now she wakes up and she's like, all right, we have to get it together. And the mom kind of loses
She
it.
loses her shit.
Yeah.
She, she's staring down at her son's body and she's just like, oh, Michael, we have to take Michael. And they're like, Mom, that's Richard. And she's like, no, his name is Michael, named after his father.
Who's not
Frank.
Frank, and yeah, so there's this reveal where
that she had this affair and that's not really Frank's son and whatever. And so she's literally just like losing it. They do wrap up Richard's body and put it in the car.
Yeah, which is gross.
But I totally get it.
Yeah, you wouldn't just leave him.
And
out there.
within all this that's going on, Marion reveals that she's pregnant.
Yeah, she's pregnant, right. Yeah.
And so, that's a whole nother can of words. Mom is completely losing her shit. She just she eats the chocolate.
Pumpkin pie.
And pumpkin pie. The entire thing. Yep. Finds a bag of chips and is scarfing that down. They have to stop because she needs to vomit all this shit up.
Right.
And then, Mom's losing it. They're still driving. They're still on this road. They've got to make it. They're heading west or whatever, and they're eventually going to hit the ocean. Mm-hmm. And Mom's like, look at all the people in the forest. Oh, there's Aunt Betty that died. Oh, and they're all waving. Richard or Frank, slow down. Blah, 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 blah. She eventually just opens the door and jumps out of it while they're going 60 miles per hour. So they pull over and oh my, there's no way she lived.
Right.
She's splattered all over the highway, right?
You'd think.
You would think.
But there she is.
She walks up like nothing's wrong, and then Frank goes to hug her oh, are you okay? And the entire back of her head is open brain matter.
Gross.
Yeah. She has this awful scene of where she reaches back and touches the back of her head and I'm guessing just hits a sensory part and has this orgasm that's so hard that then she drops dead.
I assumed that she was just oh, I'm scared. I didn't know. Okay.
I don't think that's what this is.
Right.
Audience, you watch this movie
you decide.
and you decide if it was an orgasm or not.
Well, now it's just Frank and Marion. And they're, I think eventually he allows her to drive.
Oh, because there was a gun in the car.
Right. They did set this up well, where her brother,
Laura's brother,
is a gun nut, and so one of the gifts that were in the car is a gun. So now they have a gun.
Laura had gotten it out earlier and shot Frank in the leg, and he still was driving it.
Yeah, and he refuses to let anyone drive. I love it.
Yeah. And Frank's slowly losing it. They've run out of gas.
Mm-hmm. They're trying to get to Marcotte. They just can never find it.
They found the same cabin that they were at before.
Yeah, at one point, I think it's at this point, they decide to get out and walk. They're like, maybe they run out of gas at this point.
Right, and they just walk and walk and walk, and they're like, oh, there's a light up ahead. And they get back, and it's the car.
But they're on the other side of it, so they know something weird is going on.
Eventually, Frank runs off, and then just, you kind of hear him die.
Yeah.
Something gets him. The car drives by, and blah, 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 blah. And so Marion's just
Marion.
She's screaming what do you want? What is it? The car pulls up and then it just drives right on by her. It doesn't take her or anything like that. And then I think another car comes by and this big white flash of light. Marion sits up. She's in a hospital room.
Right. Yeah. Here's the big twist.
Yeah.
Which I kind of saw this coming.
Yeah.
I guess that's very
the doctor, Marcotte is
Dr.
out in the
Marcotte.
hall and talking to the guy that had called 911.
She's a woman doctor, so obviously I don't trust her, but...
Shut up. And he's like, oh, yes, there were 5 people in the car and only this young lady who was pregnant survived. The rest of her family had died.
And in a car crash, the other car had
a woman and a baby.
Yeah.
And it's because they presume that the father fell asleep and swerved into the other lane.
Yeah, in the beginning of this movie when he dozed off and then That's
when it actually happened.
They actually did crash the car, and she's just been in a coma this whole time.
The guy who called 911, the doctor's getting off shift, and he pulls up. He's in a black hearse.
Yeah, he's in the black hearse.
And is like, hey, do you want to go get dinner or something? She's like, that would be great. I think her car's broken down or something.
Yeah, with Dr. Marcotte. So this guy who called the police is flirting with the doctor, and they end up going
but
out.
It's the same black hearse that we've seen.
Right, so
it's
you had a theory about this.
I was like, I think this is death coming for you.
And you think
that
this
doctor's
guy's
going to die.
The Grim Reaper and the doctor's going to die.
But
I interpreted it very differently.
That's what the car was, and so
that's why she was seeing it the same way that they kept seeing Marcotte and everything.
Maybe.
So
that's dead end.
That's dead end. I didn't really hate this movie. I kind of thought it was pretty well constructed. It was a good... I completely got a lot of the characters' actions in this movie. Mm-hmm. Everybody reacted in a way that I kind of believed. There was some weird stuff to it.
There's just so many lines in it that you're just like, what?
You mean like smells like ass?
Yeah, then like at one point Laura's like drinking out of a water bottle and Frank's like, do you have to suck on it like that? And she's just like, that's how I drink. And I remember like making fun of that line and like saying it with my cousins and like laughing about it for like weeks.
Yeah, I agree. It is a weird movie.
It's a very weird movie. It's not that gory. It's not that scary.
This movie, you could tell, we could make this movie with what we have now and not even have to like spend any money to do it. This movie is so cheap. It's just this family in a car. Occasionally something weird happens. Right. You could like borrow... you could make a cake and have that in the scene. You could like borrow a gun from somebody.
Right. So that's it.
Yeah.
It's neither here nor there.
Right. So
let's pen it off against ATM.
Oh, are we doing that now? I thought we're
doing
go
two
through.
No, we're gonna do these two and then we'll move on.
Okay. So which one's worse, ATM or Dead End? What do you think? What are your thoughts right now? Because I'm having a problem with this one.
Really?
Yeah.
I think the worst of the two is Dead End.
Okay. All right.
Because I like ATM.
Yeah.
Because of Josh Peck.
Sure.
I just like enjoy the characters more. Dead End is like just so unsettling because I just don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I can follow ATM and be like, okay, this is just a sick fuck who like set up all this stuff.
Right.
I just never really know what's going on in Dead End.
I guess I would say Dead End is better just because ATM feels contrived and stupid. It feels very unrealistic, whereas Dead End, while also unrealistic, makes more sense to me.
I don't agree at all.
Okay.
So what are we going to pick?
I don't know. I guess we'll just say Dead End gets the edge just because maybe I only like it because I've just seen it.
Maybe. I've had more
recently.
history with it, so I definitely think it's worse.
Okay.
So we're going to go winner, round one.
Dead End.
Dead End.
Great. Done.
Alrighty. Now we're going to move on to some real fun.
Oh, good.
We are moving on to The Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man. Jody, tell me who's in this movie.
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage is in the movie. I'm so happy. Anytime I get to watch a Nicolas Cage movie, I'm just like, ooh, I can't wait to
and
sit
see,
down
I am
watch
not.
it.
I'm like, oh.
No, that's part of it. That's why it's good. That's why you like it. So this movie is okay. Watching all of these other movies, I was like, this is a bad movie, or this is, not so bad. I was so baffled watching this movie that I had to like look up all these videos and listen to podcasts. I just had to know why this movie was the way that it was.
I will take our listeners back to season 1 worst horror movie episodes when we were at the final countdown and we were pinning Jaws 4 against Troll 2 and having a huge fight, and you just said, we're going to give it to The Wicker Man.
Yes.
I fucking understand why.
Yes.
This movie was so fucking stupid.
Okay, all right. So this movie starts out with this car crash scene. So Nicolas Cage is...
The Wicker Man came out in 2006. That's just, where to reference where in the world we are with this.
Right.
Okay.
So he's a motorcycle cop, and this mother and daughter. The daughter drops a doll out. He picks it up. He swoops down.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, it is. He grabs it. He pulls him over, and it's like, here's your toy back or whatever. And this girl is so rude. She's just like not reacting to him at all.
Yeah, she's a weirdo.
Anyway, eventually he steps away for a second, and this truck comes from nowhere. This phantom truck from out of nowhere just comes barreling in, hits the truck. It explodes, I think. The car. And kills the two of them, and he's all upset about it. But the thing is, nobody can find any bodies. They don't know who these people were. The car wasn't licensed to anyone.
Right, but it was on fire, so I'm not surprised that they didn't find any bodies.
You find bodies in fires. They're burnt, but you find bodies.
I don't know.
You do.
I don't know.
Okay.
That was an important piece of fact for this movie for me.
Well, I had this idea that there would be a twist where there was nobody in the car ever, and it never comes up again. I think the only reason that they have this scene in the movie is so that he can care about saving a child later on, because that's the whole plot of this movie. Mm-hmm. So there's this female cop who comes and talks about how he's going to be like, hey, you're going to be congratulated, you're going to be promoted or whatever. Why? We don't know.
Yeah.
But she's also like, here's this letter. It turns out it's from an fiance of his. They were engaged.
Her name is Willow.
Her name is Willow. First red flag. And
no joke. Like, sorry for all our Willow listeners out there. People who are named Willow are like moonchilds.
Unless you're in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's the only time it's okay.
Right.
But she has a daughter named Rowan who's gone missing, and she needs his help.
Because he's a cop.
To find her, because he's a cop, right. And they have this connection. And so...
Willow and her daughter live in this...
Somerset Isle. It's like this...
Which is an island.
Right. It's a matriarchy. Women rule. It sounds great.
It does sound great.
There's almost no men in the movie. There are like a couple who live on the island, but they're mute.
Yes.
Yes. And so basically the whole movie is just Nick Cage going full Cage. He's holding nothing back, especially in like the final act of this movie.
Yeah, but not even then. You get such like good moments of his.
Yeah, he's almost giving a good performance. And it reminds me a lot. There's a new movie, Color Out of Space, that came out. Very similar. It starts off with a relatively okay Nick Cage performance, and then the final act is just him going Looney Tunes, and it is so fun to watch.
So he goes there. He's, Willow had just like completely left him.
Yeah.
Like hardly no nothing, just left.
They were engaged. By the way, so I hate to just jump back, but he has another cop friend with a mustache who asks him like, "Oh, is she like a ex-girlfriend of yours?" And he's like,
"No, nothing like that." He's like, "We were briefly engaged."
Yeah, we were
it's
engaged.
Like, I don't know what that fucking means. Then, that's a girlfriend.
Yes, the answer is yes. It just makes me laugh. Anyway, yeah, he's on the island. He's trying to find out where Rowan is.
And no one even, like, some people don't even think this child exists.
Right. And I think even the school teacher said, Molly Parker, by the way.
He has, like, one picture of her.
Right.
Showing everybody, like, have you seen this girl? Have you seen this girl? And they're either like, no, the mother is crazy. She never had a child. No, that wasn't her child.
No, she died.
And then the school teacher's like...
Well, she says if she existed, we'd know about her.
We'd know.
And like he's asking, he's like asking all the kids, "Have you seen her? Have you seen her?"
Which all these children, they're all girls in the school, girls. And they all eerily look the same.
They look similar. As soon as he walks in, they start chanting phallic symbol at him when he walks in, which is not what you want.
No, not at all.
He opens up a desk and a bird flies out at one point.
Yeah, and they're like, we just wanted to see how long it would last in there. And he looks like right at the teacher and he's like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, what's going on? At one point he erases...
Which he was a crow, like, fucking die. Like...
Right. Okay, well. At one point he erases the chalkboard to write his name on it.
Yeah, and that's
as if they need to know how to spell his name.
She had like all these equations.
Yeah, these notes,
He's
right.
really freaking rude.
Right.
And then he eventually like looks in her attendance book and at the very bottom it does have Rowan.
Right. Whatever
her last name is. And it's crossed out. And he's like, "Oh, she never existed? Here's her fucking name in your book."
Yeah.
Like, and then they go outside the teacher's like, "She burned to death." And the whole town is grieving.
Yeah.
And that's why nobody wants to think about it and nobody talks about her.
That sucks. They find...
Her body is buried at the church.
They have a grave, right. He eventually... By the way, everybody keeps referencing this Lady Somerset, Sister Somerset, who's like the head honcho around here. She runs the place. And he offers no desire to go and see her.
Yeah, that seems weird.
Right.
So eventually he goes to the grave that's at the church, digs it up. There's no body there.
Yeah.
Willow's like, "See, I told you. Like, my daughter has to be alive."
Yeah.
And then they meet with Sister
Somerset, yeah.
And like, "Oh, there's going to be this big Day of the Death."
Right. It's like a death and rebirth.
Yeah, celebration.
They do it every year.
Yeah, for the harvest.
Yeah.
That's on the island.
They've had really bad crops.
Right, and they are honey harvesters. They have all these bees, and Nicolas Cage's character is allergic.
He's allergic to bees. He's got these EpiPens with him.
And so they're like, "Okay, they have a sacrifice every year. Or something like that. And
right.
They have to have her.
They sacrifice a child every year.
Yeah.
And that's part of their culture. And they're like, this is fine.
Yeah. So Nicolas Cage beats up the barmaid.
He assaults so many women at the end of this movie. He's just beating on them.
Beats her up because she has the bear costume. And they all dress up in like these animal costumes that are all crazy weird and whatever. Yeah. And Willow's there because she just kind of has to keep blending in and all this other stuff. And they
Nicolas Cage in the bee costume is one of the best things
bear
about...
costume?
Sorry, yeah, the bear costume
Not
is
the
one
bee
of the best
costume.
things about this movie.
I wish it was a bee
costume.
costume.
It was. A giant one, yeah.
Yeah. So, they're all standing there. They're going up to the pyre, and there's Rowan.
Yeah.
Right there.
Found her.
And
mission solved.
And Nicolas Cage, whispers to Will, I'm gonna go get her.
Yeah.
He beats off a couple more women and goes up there, unties Rowan, and they start taking off in the woods, and and these girls are following him, gonna try and get him and whatever. And Rowan's running him to where they need to go. I don't know how they plan to get off this island.
Right, there is a plane that flies in and out. It's how he got there, but it's been disabled at this point.
Well, they've murdered the pilot.
Right, so
Rowan, loops them all the way back around, and she's running right back to the women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And runs up to Willow, and Willow gives her a hug and is like, you did such a good job.
Right.
And
here's a twist.
Now it's okay, so you knew she was okay, and then now it becomes this whole big twist of...
Right, so part of the ceremony is that not only do they sacrifice somebody, but that it has to be a willing sacrifice, somebody who was brought to the island
as a guest
who wanted to come there. And so everything that's happened has been about leading him
And I think
here.
it has to be a male, don't you think?
I think it does have to be a male, yeah, because we see a scene later on where they get 2 more men. But so his whole thing was them bringing him to this island to sacrifice him. Also, the cop that he talked to at the beginning is there on the island,
woman cop, yeah.
which makes me question, why? Why did she need to be involved?
I think that's just kind of how, I don't know, how they got around to getting him to go there and whatever.
I don't get it, but yeah, so...
Well, she delivered the letter.
Yeah, but that could have just, they could have mailed it.
I know.
It's stupid.
It's weird. So they're going to sacrifice him.
Right, they break his legs, and they
they carry him up to this huge...
The
Wicker Man.
Wicker Man, yeah.
A man made of wicker.
A man of wicker.
This huge statue. It's like Burning Man.
It's like this giant pyre that's in just a dude shape.
And they haul him all the way up to the top.
Yeah, lock him in.
Rowan goes and sets the thing on fire.
Yeah.
And he dies.
Movie ends. And that's it.
You would think.
Well, there is that scene 6 months later.
Did we mention that Rowan ended up being Nicolas Cage's daughter?
Oh, right. Twist from as soon as we found out there was a daughter, we knew this was coming.
Yeah, this has to be your daughter.
Not only is it's Willow's daughter and his.
Right. That was a big reveal in the middle of it with whatever. But yeah.
So
now 1 year later or 6 months later,
there are 2 actors who play cops at this bar, and they are played by Jody. Who are they played by?
James Franco.
James Franco is in the movie,
and Jason Ritter.
Jason Ritter. We talked about John Ritter in our Chucky episode,
right?
By the way, there are 2 versions of this movie. One has this scene at the end, and the other one doesn't. But the other one has the "not the bees" scene, which is the very famous, "not the bees," where he gets bees poured into this.
Right.
Mess.
I had never seen it.
Right. We watched the movie without that scene, unfortunately, but we did get James Franco and Jason Ritter, so
win-win.
Win-win. And they're just 2 of the women from the island.
Yeah, it's Willow and another girl, and they're trying to escort these men.
Right. We didn't talk about this other woman who's there. She was in the movie earlier, and she she asked Nick Cage, will you run away with...
No, when you leave, take me with you.
Yeah.
It's like she wanted to get off the island or something.
But was that a ploy? Because she's clearly involved.
I think that's just kind of her role is to get those men.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just think that's honestly the only way she knows how to talk to men is and it's a line that works for most of the time. She's a beautiful girl. Yeah. It's when if you're at a bar and you're alone with a guy that you kind of just met, and if a beautiful woman says when you leave, will you take me with you? Wouldn't you take her home?
I don't know. I'm engaged to you.
But wouldn't you take her home? I think you would.
Maybe. All right, so
that's The Wicker Man.
That's The Wicker Man. This movie was a treat to watch.
This was one of the movies that I got done and I was like, I will never get that time back. Because I did not...
I felt differently about this movie.
I get why you like this movie.
Yeah.
I was just like, why?
Right.
And just the acting is so up and down and crazy. There's this one scene, he keeps seeing like Rowan's ghost almost like all over the island and like follows her, whatever. He's on the dock. He thinks she's under the dock. He jumps into the water and swims under there.
Yeah.
And goes to like pull her body out and boom, he like wakes up and he's like, oh, I was just dreaming. I'm still just on top of the dock.
But what's in my hands?
Yeah, but the camera zooms out and there's this dead girl in his arms.
He's got Rowan in his arms.
And he's like, ah! And then he snaps out of it again. It's another dream sequence. And he just feels like, God damn it, like on the dock. These are moments when I'm just like, like, what's happening?
Nick Cage keeps flip-flopping between normal react, like how you would react. Like when he does, when the kids say that phallic symbol thing, he's just like, ha, what? He's like laughing weirdly. Yeah. Then there are other times where he just gives Cage performances.
Where he's like yelling at Willow, like, where is she? Where is she, Willow? Huh? Where? Like just completely like going batshit
How did
crazy.
It burn? How did it burn?
Yeah, how did it burn? Well, tell me, how did it burn? How did it burn? Why do you think it burned? Like,
right. Just like, what are you doing?
All these great, so... It's fun to watch for those moments because you're just laughing so hard at how bad it is. You can't take this movie seriously.
Right.
I want to know the person that's like, oh, I'm truly interested in the theory of this town and whatever. Yeah. You're never going to have that.
This movie was based on the original one from, I think, the 70s, and it has a lot more going on. It's not a bad movie. It has more stuff that it's about, and this movie is just a mess to watch, so.
Right. So that's The Wicker Man.
That's The Wicker Man.
It is getting paired off against Saw 3D.
Saw 3D, the sixth Saw movie, the final chapter, Saw 3D. Oh my God, I'm...
the woman of many names is what it is.
So we talked about this movie.
This came out in 2000.
Year.
Yes, this came out in 2010, the year I graduated.
Right.
So I'm always like attached to things around that time because I remember them coming out into theaters and my classmates being so excited about it and whatever.
Yeah.
So...
we don't need to get too deep into this one because we've already talked
about it. If you're a Saw fan, you know what happens. We have all these characters. We have Hoffman. We have Jill.
Jill Tuck. Yeah, we have.
And we're wrapping up their stories, and
we talked in the Final Destination about the character Todd from the first one, the friend who died first, and he's in this movie as one of the main detectives.
Yes. He's there with Jill, interrogating her. She's finally like, I'm going to give you all the information, but I want complete immunity.
Right. So they're holding her in lockup. Meanwhile, Hoffman is trying to get to her to kill her because at the end of the last movie, he set him in a saw trap that he escaped from. And that's basically the whole plot of this movie it's him trying to kill Jill Tuck. Well, also there's a game going on that the Todd character is trying to stop, where this heretic almost who wrote this book about being in a saw trap and he's lying has to now go through that saw trap, or else his wife will die. Which, what did she do? What choice?
Yeah, she ended up not knowing that he even lied about it.
Right.
So
okay. So Hoffman set this up. It's his game. He murdered this woman. He put her in a bronze, what's it called, a bronze bull or whatever, where she's burned to death.
Brazen bull.
Thank you.
A bronze bull.
A bronze bull. She didn't do anything. She had no knowledge of anything. She had no choice. She was not being tested in any way, and she just burned to death and died.
Right.
So good job, Hoffman.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the horrible things in this movie.
This movie's terrible.
From the beginning, we have public saw trap.
Yeah, this saw trap. When was this set up? How was this set up? Why did nobody see?
It set up?
Why was it set up? Okay, every single other opening Saw thing in some way ties in, even if it's just the police go to investigate it later. This doesn't.
This was nothing.
If you remove this from the movie, you literally wouldn't have to change a single line of dialogue. Even the other ones, they would have to go and investigate.
This is
later.
the one where there's this girl. She's dating these two guys behind their backs, and they wake up and they have to choose between, are they gonna kill the other guy
or
to be with the girl who was cheating on them,
or work together
and kill her.
Right, and
they end up killing her. It's a crazy scene. Nobody in the audience outside the bulletproof glass can get in and all this other stuff. And I don't even know if anybody calls the cops or whatever. It's random. It didn't need to be in here. It wasn't even really a good trap.
Right. It was weird. So that's stupid. Another thing that's stupid is one of the things, and maybe you want to go in order. So what do you have in your notes?
Well, just that Jill's really weird in this movie.
Oh yeah, she's such a weird character to me. She could have been so cool. The wife of Jigsaw could have been a great character.
But she's just not
weird. Yeah,
she they go back to the scene where she put the reverse bear trap on Hoffman and she's running away and she has this weird run, which she has a very athletic build. Just fucking let her run.
Run like a normal person would run. She weirdly swings her arms around.
Shuffles almost. And then she goes to bed. She has this weird death dream where she's in this super sexy pink nightshirt. Yeah. And we get all these 3D guts flying everywhere.
Right. And then she wakes up. She's like, oh no.
It's just... these are the things that make this movie bad, and it just makes it not Saw.
And this movie doesn't look good either. All the kills are CGI. There's a lot of CG blood. Yeah. The even the stuff that isn't a death scene or everything. The movie looks like it's just covered in mud. It just looks like somebody slathered mud.
And not
on the
in a gross Saw way.
Right, not in a gross Saw way. It just looks weird. Ugly and gray and weird. Yeah. There's one of the weird things about this movie is that the guy who is going through the trap has to get a code for the door, and the code is written on his teeth somehow.
Yep.
And I guess they showed a scene of him getting his teeth removed, and maybe.
And I went into a whole thing about this that would absolutely never happen.
Right. First of all, you'd feel it.
You would know immediately when you woke up that either your face was numb.
Yeah.
Or that your teeth had been fucked with.
Right. And then when it came...
And those teeth would hardly be difficult to take out.
Yeah. He's pulling on his teeth and it's this huge ordeal. There's a lot of blood pouring
that would
out
never
of
happen.
That mouth. No. If they've been removed, they're loose and just pull it
that
out.
And you just normally never bleed that much with extractions.
Right.
Believe me, I know.
Right.
And we just could have had better choices. There's this whole setup of these Nazi people.
Oh, yeah. Chester Bennington.
Yeah. Has to rip his skin off to stop the timer before his girlfriend gets smashed under the car. The guy behind him gets his jaw ripped off and he runs into somebody else. Why wasn't that our opening scene?
If that was the opening scene, it would bring the detectives in. There'd be some investigating. It would tie into the rest of the movie. It actually would tie in really well to the rest of the movie because one of the big fallouts from that is one of the bodies that they bring in was switched out by Hoffman later on so that he could sneak into the building. So it's a very important scene in the story. So yeah, it should have been the opening segment, but I guess they came up with this thing with the girl.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
I hate that part of it.
Yeah.
It's just you came up with this for no reason, and it doesn't even look good. It's not even a good opening scene.
Yeah.
There's also just this one little detail that I really can't stand in this movie. It's when they start the whole game with the one guy who has to go through all this stuff because he's a big fat liar.
Mm-hmm. Love that movie.
I do love that movie. Why aren't we talking about that movie?
It'd be better than this.
He wakes up and the time immediately starts.
Yes, while the instructions are
still being said.
Yes.
As a game or an escape room enthusiast.
Yes, this would never fly.
That's fucking rude.
Right. If we were in a room and the timer started going,
I would demand a restart.
I would be like, wait a second. No.
Yeah,
even if it's 20 seconds.
No, I need those 20. I've gotten out of rooms with 1 second.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have that, I would be pissed.
Right.
So it's the little things like that drive me crazy. We also have in a flashback of this guy at one of his book signings, and we get hip hop John Kramer.
Yes,
who's trying to be in disguise.
Yeah.
These are just things that are so out of character. You're just you're ruining John Kramer Jigsaw in this franchise that has been amazing. And this is what we end with, people. This is all we have until we get Jigsaw.
Right. For a while, this was the end. This movie does end in a great way, because all these movies end in a great way, though, which is when it's the reveal that Carrie Elwes' character, Dr. Gordon, was involved from
the beginning.
As soon as, like, after the first game, after Saw 1, he became involved. I like that.
Yes.
There's an incredible ending thing where he locks Hoffman in the room.
In the shit room.
Yeah, yeah.
He throws the saw, and that looks like shit.
Yeah, he throws it right into the camera, which is stupid 3D effect. But he says, "I don't think so," and throws it, which I love.
And then he gives a good nod to his foot that's still there.
Yeah, it's still there, and he says, "Game over."
Yeah,
he closes
it. I don't think it's a good enough ending for Saw.
It definitely doesn't justify it. It definitely doesn't do a good job of I don't know. I think it kind of does, because it's the same way the first movie ends. And the positions are reversed.
It's just not enough.
I know.
It's not enough.
It definitely doesn't make this movie worth it.
It makes me angry. I just want more. And at that time, you could have had it.
Absolutely.
We had... These people just need to take time to work on a movie instead of just throwing one out every year.
I agree.
So... That's my problem with Saw 3D.
So, yeah, this movie's bad. Is that all you want to say on Saw 3D?
That's all I want to say.
I guess we got to pit it against the Wicker Man.
Well, what are you picking?
Well, it really goes back to what I said in the last one about Jaws 4 versus Troll 2, because Troll 2 is a movie that's fun to hate. It's fun to watch and be like, wow, I can't believe how bad this is. Whereas Jaws 4 is so bad, and it makes me angry because it came from something good. I love the Saw movies. The early ones are so good, and to see it fall so hard into this, I don't want to watch Saw 3D. Whenever I have to watch it, I get angry. And that's a very strong emotion. That's a very strong contender for worst horror movie. But of course, The Wicker Man wins.
Oh, thank God. I was really like, are we seriously going to fight about this?
I know. I just need to put out there that Saw 3D deserves a lot of crap, because it is a terrible movie that does a terrible job at being a Saw movie and a horror movie. Yeah. But The Wicker Man is so next level special as bad movies go.
Yeah.
That there's no choice but to give it to The Wicker Man.
Yeah, it's Saw 3D.
Mm-hmm. Saw 3D, the final chapter.
And I think we talked about seasons dragging on too long, and series of movies dragging on too long, and it just, in the end, they turn to shit. And I just think that Saw kind of falls into that.
Yeah.
It's Saw 3D is the 6th season of Parks and Rec. It's
okay.
It's the last season of Game of Thrones. It's just not what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is worse, don't get me wrong.
Right. When things go on too long, they start to lose.
Their pizzazz.
Yeah.
But I will always watch it more than The Wicker Man because that movie is just utter bullshit.
See, you and I have very different criteria for a bad movie. You would rather watch Saw 3D than The Wicker Man, and so you choose The Wicker Man. I would rather watch The Wicker Man than Saw 3D, and so I choose The Wicker Man.
And that's fine. And that's worst horror movies.
Yeah.
And that's what we can do with this.
Right.
Our listeners out there are going to decide for themselves, what do you consider worst?
Right.
So
a movie that's fun because it's awful, or a movie
that's so bad I don't want to watch it.
Right.
And they can be both.
Yeah, sure.
So, round 2 goes to The Wicker Man.
How did it burn? How did it burn? I forgot that I was doing impressions for every winner of this.
Not this year.
All right. So, the next
Now
movie...
let's get into some fun.
What's that?
Now we're going to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Oh my God. I am so excited. All right. So, some context is that Silent Night, Deadly Night is a horror movie where... a guy has a rough childhood. He sees his parents get killed by Santa Claus, and so he grows up to have these really strong triggers for any Christmas-related activity, and he dresses up as Santa Claus and goes on a killing spree. And then he gets he ends up dying by he's shot by a cop in the nursing home, the orphanage, the Catholic orphanage that he lives in with his brother. That's another component, is his brother's there.
Right.
That's the first movie. It's a weird movie, to be sure.
But it was the 80s.
Yeah, it kind of, I would say, is pretty by the numbers as weird 80s horror movies go.
It also broke the mold because, it was shut down within a week of being in theaters because parents did not want Santa to be a horror movie.
Right. So that is Silent Night, Deadly Night 1. And I think it's very important to talk about that movie because of why.
Yeah, you have to because,
first of all,
when you start watching Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, half of the goddamn movie is the first movie.
The entire movie is a flashback, and half of the flashback is what we've seen in the first one. The other half is just like this guy's life between them. So the focus of this movie, quote unquote, is the brother, Ricky, who learned about some of this stuff because he wasn't there for it, and some of his experiences. Most of the movie is him recapping the first one.
40 minutes, people.
Yes.
40 minutes of a hour 45-minute movie.
Right.
40 minutes of it is recap.
Yeah. And it's framed as this conversation between a detective and Ricky, who's in some kind of asylum or prison. And Ricky is acting as if these things happened to him. Now, I get that if your brother went through something like this, it would be very affecting for you. It would be a part of your trauma and your life. But this movie is framed as if it's his life, as if he went through all
this, and he didn't.
Right. It's not narratively satisfying for Ricky to be like almost crying while describing his brother's experiences. It just doesn't feel right. It's so weird. And the actor who plays Ricky is a gift from God to watch.
So he looks like Scott Baio. I don't know who it is. We should have looked it up. But his eyebrows are like a different character in this movie.
Yes. Okay, so it reminds me of the live action TV show The Tick, where Patrick Warburton has like these antennae that are like moving wildly. It feels like animatronic eyebrows that it's like a puppeteer is moving these eyebrows,
and they're not in sync with anything else that's being said. It's I think it's the funniest part of this movie.
Just look at the Garbage Day scene on YouTube, and his eyebrows move more than his mouth does.
Like 50 beats a second.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
he's in a prison cell type thing. Mm-hmm. A therapist is coming in and is recording their sessions, trying to kind of get what happened out of him.
Yeah.
So he recaps everything that happened with his brother.
Right.
Then he starts talking about his kills.
Yes.
The people that he's killed. He just like is walking home, and this woman and this man are in this field having this picnic and whatever. And this guy starts like ripping the shirt off this woman, and she's screaming like, no, and all this other stuff, and slaps him.
Because he starts off by being like, I won't do anything unless you say yes. I need to get a yes. And I'm like, oh, wow, this movie's very progressive for its time. It's actually like promoting consensual relationships. And then and then she's just like, I don't want to do it right now, right here. You always want it. Why don't we just talk? And he's like, oh, I'm gonna get it if it's the last thing I do. And he starts like assaulting her, and I'm just like,
which triggers him because like his mother, like when she died, had her shirt ripped off.
He has no memories of,
right? Because he was a baby.
Yeah. But yeah, whatever.
So he gets in his car and like basically like runs over that guy, and the girl is actually like, thank you.
Yeah.
And then walks away.
Right.
His second kill is when he's just kind of in this back alley, and this mob boss is like, beating up this other guy, like, you will give me my money and all this other stuff, and like, smacks him really hard. That guy's kind of just knocked out cold. And Ricky gets like an umbrella and like stabs it through the mob boss.
That's pretty cool. And he like opens it up.
So I'm like, this is a pretty good dude. He's just killing these bad guys. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Then he meets this girl, right?
Right. Then he talks about meeting Jennifer.
Right, Jennifer. I'm trying to like just speed through it. There's a scene in the movie theater where we run into an ex-boyfriend that Jennifer had, and we learn that she was with somebody before meeting Ricky.
And he thought that she was a virgin, and apparently, like, to him, that was really important or whatever.
There are also in the theater these two patrons who are so annoying.
It's not important, but they're obnoxious.
Yeah, this guy, one of the guys will not shut up and keeps making fun of the movie and the people in it. His friend is just lying there, like, not reacting really. He's kind of laughing. He's just it's such a weird scene.
The biggest crime in this movie theater scene, what are they watching?
Oh, yes! Thank you for reminding me. They're watching the first Silent Night, Deadly Night. They're watching the first movie. What the hell?
And this isn't even a meta movie. That's when it's a problem.
Right. It's not even a movie that... It's not even like it's not a comedy.
Right. You're just like, what?
What? They're watching the first movie? What? I can't handle it. I cannot. This is worse than Scream 2 and Halloween H2O. Like watching those movies on themselves.
Oh, yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
He goes to Jennifer's house. That guy's there again.
Yeah.
And it comes out that she's not a virgin or whatever.
Right.
Ricky then like kills this guy with like jumper cables.
Yeah. Sticking him right in it, like onto his molars.
Yeah, and like electrocutes him, whatever. Jennifer dies, and he's like all distraught. Then he just starts
he kills her.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Right.
And then he starts wandering basically just around the street,
he goes on
killing
this, like,
anyone.
massacre, yeah. He has a gun. He starts shooting people.
And this
guy,
this poor man, he's just, I'm sure his wife was nagging at him. And he's just like, go take the trash out, please. And this guy's just walking the trash cans out and sets them down at the end of the driveway.
And here comes Ricky. And
he's just yells, garbage day.
And then shoots at him. Yeah.
Obliterates that guy.
Okay. And then, Jody. A car comes up from behind. He turns around. Shoots the driver. The car does this awesome flip.
It's like barely misses the person that plays Ricky in that scene.
Right, yeah. It flips right next to him. It lands upright on its wheels. And when we were watching the movie, Jody, remember what I said to you?
Yeah.
I was laughing because that was ridiculous. And I said, I really hope the car explodes.
And
boom, it does. It blows up. Why? How? Who? This is so stupid and so incredible. This was
the 80s. Everything had to explode.
Yeah, you're right. It didn't even crash. That's the thing that gets me the most. It lands on its wheels. It lands upright and it still explodes. I love it. Eventually, he gets surrounded by cops and taken in.
So then it gets caught up to we're no longer flashing back.
It's the end of the movie because the entire movie is this flashback.
No, it's not.
Okay, go on.
Because then he kills the therapist that's there.
Yeah. And then the credits roll.
No.
Okay, what happens
Then he goes to kill the nun.
Right. Well, it's towards the end.
So don't lie to our audience.
Well, they deserve to be lied to.
So during this whole flashback thing, he's monologuing whatever, and the guy who was like recording this, it pans over to the desk, and Ricky has strangled him with the recording tape.
Yeah.
And like has walked out. He's escaped.
Right.
So now he's going to kill the nun that damaged his brother so much and turned him into a killer.
The nun. We need to talk about this.
Sister Maria, is that her name?
Right. They call her
no, it's not Maria.
They call her what Mother Superior is what they call her.
That's it. That.
So they say that she has had a stroke since between these two movies. And
I know a ton of people out there have had family members that have had strokes.
Right. And I know little about strokes, but one thing that I do know is what they don't do.
It does not give you leprosy of the face.
It doesn't make you look like Two-Face from Batman. This nun looks like she has had acid thrown. She looks like Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
Like somehow she just has like her face is bubbling. It's like it's plastic that's been thrown in a microwave, half of her face. And as soon as she turned to the camera, I was like, what happened?
Yeah, it was crazy.
And you were like, it's because of the...
I was like, because they said she had a stroke.
And I was like, what? Does that happen? And you were like, no, it does not.
No, it does not.
So that was wild. Also, he takes an axe to like this little Santa figurine outside her house while he's walking up to it for some reason. Don't know why.
I don't know. We get this whole cat and mouse scene, and he eventually dies.
Yeah. Oh, she lives. Her address, by the way, 666. It's written on the front door. Of course it would be. Yeah.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Right.
But there it is. So that is Silent Night, Deadly Night.
This movie was also a treat to watch. I had such a blast watching it. It's similar to The Wicker Man. It had a lot of like the first half of it was slow and boring. And then as it went on, it got weirder and weirder and more funny.
Yeah.
So... say about that.
I think it's perfect what we're pairing it up next to.
Another Christmas movie, by the way. That's the third one so far.
Yes, that is the third Christmas movie on our list. Now, same exact year, 1987, the movie Chopping Mall comes out.
Chopping Mall. Great, Chopping Mall. Let's talk about it.
So, if you were to hear Chopping Mall, what would you think it's about?
If I were to hear Chopping Mall, there's a serial killer, like a Jason kind of thing. and it takes place in a shopping mall. But there's a killer with some kind of blade that does, I don't know, chopping. Why don't you tell me if I'm right?
I would think it would be something that people are not respecting the escalators and get obliterated.
Oh, okay, great. Gotta respect the escalators.
Neither are correct.
Right. Final Destination, escalator scene.
It is not, yeah.
Right.
This newfangled mall is now getting these security robots.
Yeah. This mall, they're getting robots, and they're also getting, like, steel reinforced doors that, like, bolt
like on
close.
Spaceships, like,
yeah.
that
so
close.
Let me ask you this. Why do they need security bots?
Don't know. In case somebody was in the mall after hours, I guess.
Why do those security bots need to be installed with C4?
I don't know.
And deadly lasers?
I don't know.
Okay, great.
I don't know. I do not know.
Yeah.
But rest assure you, they are not set to kill.
Right. Yeah.
As we learned in the beginning, as they're showing what these robots can do. They have badge identification scanning that they could do.
Which never works in the movie.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We have a cool group of teens that are going to have some fun to the max.
There's like 4 couples in this movie.
Correct.
Yeah.
We have... I'll just run through the couples real quick. We have Mike, who...
Is he the chewing gum one?
Yeah, he kind of drives me nuts, his face. He's just got that smirk all the time, and his jaw is, like, so pronounced that I'm just like...
He's got a huge jaw.
Ow, your jaw makes my jaw hurt.
Yeah.
He's dating Leslie.
Leslie's there.
I think almost all the women in this movie are blonde, except for Linda.
Linda, yeah.
So
who wears plaid?
I like Linda. Don't make fun of Linda.
Oh,
okay.
Am I making fun of Linda?
And
I'm wearing plaid right now.
And then we have Greg and Susie. I like Greg. He's like the kind of level-headed guy who's like, kind of smart and,
yeah, Greg's
snippy
cool.
and
I like Susie because she's played by Barbara Crampton.
There you go.
Who I love, but her character is done so dirty in this movie. I really feel bad for her.
Yeah, it really is. Then we have Rick and Linda. I like their relationship the best because I think they're married. Or like newly married.
Right, they just became married. They own like a flower shop, a tulip shop, and there's a scene later on where she's like running numbers because of all the destruction that's happening, where I think she thinks they're gonna have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Using the money from her flower shop.
And they're like all worried and all this stuff. Yeah. I really like them. They're a really cute couple. And then we have like our like young virgins.
Right.
Freddy and
yes, his name is
Allison.
His name is Freddy, and I could not find out if that's like based on a real name
or if maybe it's his last name.
No, it's not. Based on IMDb, It is not. His last name, which I'm going to tell you now, Micelle. So it's Freddy Micelle.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what Freddy is.
We'll have to look up like what.
Sure.
Maybe. Nationality or origins that name comes from, because that's really interesting. So they have these 3 new robots.
Yep, killbots.
They can cut through any debris.
Yeah,
but they are not set to kill.
Right.
Now, excuse me if I'm wrong, but is not flesh debris in some way?
No, but
yes, it is.
It's something that could be cut through. Yeah.
It cuts through metal. It can cut through flesh.
Right. How expensive are these robots? And
in the 80s? Can you imagine?
Yeah, and how much money is this mall willing to spend on such security defenses?
Who knows? These are the questions.
Yeah, this movie doesn't make sense.
This is what really does this movie in.
Right.
Anyway, the mall gets hit by lightning. It cuts down all the sensors on the robots. They're now free to roam. Mm-hmm. These 4 couples have stowed away in a furniture store that's in the mall to have sex shenanigans.
We missed the part where one of the programmers is killed by the robots, who's played by Phil, as in how's it hanging, Phil? From Chucky 2.
Yeah.
Or Shots.
He's got such a quick death that it's whatever.
I just wanted to reference that.
Yeah. So now they're on this like They're trying to survive. Trying to escape. We get some crazy kills in this movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. These robots, they can shoot out lasers.
Yeah.
Which, radiation, holy cow.
Yeah. But they are so inconsistent with how powerful they are, because one of the first kills, one of them, is the woman who gets shot in the butt and is fine, and then immediately shot in the head, which explodes.
Explodes.
Great kill, but such a weird
Yeah.
Weird scene.
Really, really weird. So they're all running around, going crazy. They get kind of picked off one by one. Mm-hmm. They blow up an elevator at one point to kill one of the robots.
A lot of explosions in this movie.
A lot of explosions, definitely.
It's the 80s. At one point, Susie gets killed. Barbara Crampton gets killed. She's lit on fire. And because her boyfriend Greg is really upset about it, for a little bit he's like kind of out of it. He's like
almost suicidal as well. Yeah.
And then he has this great speech where he's like, all right, you know what? I'm not going to stand for this. They took my girlfriend. We're going to stand up. We're going to fight back. It's this really rousing moment. And then it's a new scene. So it's not a joke. It's not meant to be funny.
No, but
he's immediately killed off.
He's like thrown over the balcony.
He's thrown over the balcony.
And that's it. For this good character, it's such a shit kill.
Right. And he was just the one who was like, we're going to stand up and fight back. And then the scene cuts to a new scene where they're walking around. The robots show up, push him off the balcony. He dies. What the hell is going on in this movie? Who greenlit that?
They get to like a convenience store, and Linda's like, that's when she does all the math, and she's like, oh, we're not going to survive this, all this, whatever. And then her husband's just like, stop worrying about this. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I guess I'm just not used to being chased around by killer robots at night. It's just, and she says it so seriously that you're just like, fuck?
Yeah,
like,
well,
what?
Hey, some different lives for different people.
Anyway, they get killed off. Linda and Mike.
She gets killed off.
Not
and
Mike, Rick.
Right,
yeah.
She gets killed off, and Rick almost basically just gives up. He just runs
he's just like,
right into the robot.
Yeah, and gets electrocuted.
Immediately, yeah. And then, explosion.
Yeah.
Robot blows up.
You're right. So our final girl, Susie.
Yeah, Susie.
No, Allison.
Allison, right.
All these names are kind of similar. Allison goes, she runs into the paint store and opens all these cans of paint. She had stowed away a flare.
Yeah.
Lights it when the robot goes in. Have a nice day. Throws the flare.
Super flammable
explosion.
Super flammable paint. I don't think
that would ever
flammable.
happen. There's varnish too. I think that would work, but she pours out more paint than varnish.
Yeah, and she does this immediately. She runs in there and like pours all these cans of paint. She's really fast about this. And then her boyfriend's alive. There was a thing where maybe he was dead, but he's not. So great. Credits roll.
End of Chopping Mall.
Yeah, end of Chopping Mall. Weird movie, weird 80s movie. And it's late in the 80s too, so you'd expect
87,
Yeah, you'd expect it to kind of have like a handle on just good movies, but no.
No.
Weird movie.
Weird movie.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them.
All
right.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 wins.
Oh, okay.
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
I agree.
Okay,
Chopping Mall is fun to watch. And,
it is.
And it's quick. It's funny.
This movie is 70 minutes long.
Perfect.
This is an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
When they aired this on TV, they had to add scenes to make it longer because it wasn't long enough to be a feature-length film.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very funny. So this is the shortest movie I think I've ever seen. I
love it.
Movie.
I love it.
You're like in and out.
Yeah, I like my movies fast and quick.
Yeah.
But yes, this movie is a delight. Chopping Mall is a delight to watch. It's got this good scene at the beginning. The girls are working at their waitress job, and there's this like guy just eating literally all this food, and he's just like, waitress, more butter. Like it's just, there's really cute moments in this.
They have a locker room that they change in for some reason.
I think that happens because like if you think back to Elf, like
they had
Jolie or Joe, whatever her name is. I can never really tell because they mumble when they say it. Like Zooey Deschanel's character. Yeah. I mean, she takes a shower there, so I totally think that's a thing.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a good movie, and I think Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 has hilarious parts to it.
Really,
but for a horror movie, that's not what you should do.
Yeah,
and you also shouldn't steal 40 minutes worth of material from your previous movie.
I'm so curious.
To pad out your movie.
I said this when we watched it. What would it be like to somebody who watched the first one in theaters and then was like, oh, they're making a second one. I'm excited to go and watch it. And you buy a ticket to the movie and go see it. And it's mostly the first movie again. How
I'd be pissed.
Would you be?
So pissed.
I can't believe it's so much of. I get maybe a quick summary, but it is such a long summary. It's so funny to me.
Okay.
So
winner, round 3, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Garbage Day.
It is
garbage
the
movie.
Garbagest of days.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
All right, we're down to our last 2 movies to pit against each other.
Let's get into it. What's our first movie, Joe?
Our first movie
Okay.
that we're going to talk about for this last round. I don't know how I wanted to feel about this movie.
Sure.
It's got some amazing, amazing actors in it.
What's the name?
I'm going to give it to you.
Okay, all right.
It's got a character that, or it's got an actor that has always been just one of my absolute favorites to watch.
Yes.
It's Justin Long, and the movie that we're talking about is
Die Hard 4.
Is he really in that?
Yes.
Damn it, now I gotta watch that movie.
Okay, all right. No, it's not good. It's not a horror movie.
Well,
it's not good.
I watch things other than horror
I'm
movies,
just saying.
Alex. I know you don't believe that,
Tusk.
but I actually do. It's Tusk.
Is the movie, yeah.
Tusk. The newest movie on our list.
That's true. It's 2014.
2014.
This is a Kevin Smith movie. He has a podcast called The Smodcast, which we're not allowed to talk about other podcasts, but
you have to for this movie,
right.
because this is what makes me go, oh,
right.
This is why this is this way.
So they brought this up on their podcast episode. I think I wrote it down as 259. They talk about their idea for this movie. I haven't listened to this yet. I really want to, but it's hard to find online. But the inception of this movie, and I think they talk about it, is in that podcast. And so they came up with this idea, they made the movie, and now it's a real one that exists.
I want to listen to this episode because I want to know how much they're laughing like when they come up with this.
It's a ridiculous movie. It's a ridiculous premise. Basically, it's the human centipede, but instead of 3 people in a centipede, it's 1 person and a walrus.
Yeah, no joke. I've never seen Human Centipede because
Right.
honestly, I'm scared to watch it.
Right.
But I looked at you at the end of this movie and I was like, is this worse than Human Centipede? And you're like, no. Or yes, it is. It's
I honestly
worse.
think Human Centipede is a better movie than this. This movie is so bad. I was honestly a little worried when we were doing this because I didn't think this movie was that bad.
I
was like,
I was shocked at how bad it was.
I
absolutely shocked. Justin Long, Haley Joel Osment, Johnny fucking Depp is in this movie.
Oh my God, the scene where Johnny Depp showed up, and
I about lost my shit. Like,
you and I were like, okay, first of all, what the hell is going on in this movie? Then we were like, who is this guy?
Who is this character?
He looks familiar. I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, Jody, you will never believe this.
I guessed it was Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah,
that's how
Johnny Knoxville.
That's how ridiculous he was acting.
Yeah.
And when you said Johnny Depp, I seriously was like, was he seriously that desperate for this shit? Maybe he's a fan of the podcast.
I think he must be, or a fan of the people.
Or they just raised a fuck ton of money.
Yeah, seriously.
That's the only way I could ever perceive him being in this movie.
He plays this French detective, and he's got this ridiculous accent where you can barely understand what he's saying. And he takes so much time, the way we do, he takes so much time to explain everything.
Oh, and repeats a lot.
He repeats a lot. He's
like we do.
this hockey player that the one that I was investigating, the one that I had spent all this time looking up.
And they found the body. The hockey player that I was telling you earlier in the story.
I said that I was investigating him, the hockey player. That's the guy I'm talking about right now. It's just so much, but all in a terrible French accent. It is to die for.
This movie starts out, Justin Long's character, Wallace.
Yes,
Willis.
Because it's walrus.
Wallace, yeah. Does a podcast with him and Haley Joel Osment's character.
Maybe we should shut this podcast down because
this makes me scared to podcast.
Yeah, seriously.
Honestly, because they're kind of like a shit talker podcast.
Right, they make fun of people.
I mean, which is basically what we're doing at this episode is shit talking. But
Kevin Smith, don't listen to this.
He goes to Canada to interview this kid who went viral on this video for accidentally cutting his leg.
Yeah, okay, so this was a huge point of contention between the two of us. You thought that I thought that this video was a fake one.
Yeah.
I thought that it was the joke was it was a bad CG where he cuts his leg off, there's fake blood, it looks terrible. I thought it was supposed to be a joke. And they were laughing at how stupid this video was. Uh-huh. It turns out that was real.
And that kid actually cut his leg off, and
they're making fun of him.
Yeah, and I just said, I think that kid actually did.
And I was convinced that wasn't true because I was like, that looked terrible. They wouldn't put that in the movie if that was supposed to be real. But it was real. So
he's going to Canada to interview this kid because he's gone viral and blah-de-blah-de-blah.
Yeah. Turns out, when he gets there...
that kid killed himself.
Yeah. So he's stuck up there and he's like, well, I gotta come up with content
right,
somehow.
He's like, I'm in fucking Canada, and I got to come up with something. Someone's scouting his podcast to like actually become something. So he's kind of like, I got to get something because my career's really going to start taking off right now.
Yeah.
So he sees this.
Yeah, he happens to find this just like note in the bathroom that
I'm a big seaman.
Oh, really? Is that what it says? Well,
No.
There's just this guy who he's like, I've had a long storied life, and if you
at sea, and now I'm at home in Canada.
If I'm putting it out there, if somebody wants to come and live with me and do like these chores that I can't do, then I'll let you live here, and I'll tell you all my stories and whatever. So, in the first of 2 Justin Long peeing scenes in as many minutes. He ends up going to this guy's house, meeting him. His name is Howard Howe, and he goes to the bathroom there immediately.
Who's played by?
Michael Park.
Don't say nobody, because he's a very good actor.
Okay, I don't know him from anything.
So he plays Esteban in Kill Bill.
Oh yeah, he's in Kill Bill.
In Kill Bill, that then they called the internet kid
Kill Bill
Kill Bill Kid. Yeah. No.
Now what?
That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't be a real thing.
Does that make more or less sense than watching Silent Night, Deadly Night 2?
I think it makes less sense.
How?
I don't know. Okay. It just does to me in my head. And this is where the movie gets weird.
Oh yeah. He immediately makes himself so at home here. He's like,
Justin Long's character is awful in this.
He's so annoying. He's so bad.
He's got a horrible mustache.
Yes. But so does the French detective Johnny Depp.
Yeah, there's a lot of yeah. So he's like pulling all these stories out of this guy, and he tells this big story about how
he met Hemingway and everything.
Yeah, and all this stuff, and he's like at sea, and the boat, was sinking, and he's the only one that survived. He washed up on these rocks, and this big walrus came and didn't kill him, and like almost took him under his wing like it was his pup.
They were best friends.
Like nursed him back to health almost until he was rescued.
The reverence this guy has for the walrus that he found is the weirdest thing. He's like, he's almost in love with this walrus. Yeah. The way he talks about it, he's like, it was like meeting God, this walrus.
Yeah, or my mother.
Right, super weird. Like super, super weird.
He drugs Justin Long.
Yeah, he's drinking his tea. So I hate knowing so much about movies because anytime somebody like drinks tea
and they like say or they like call attention, they keep calling attention to how much.
He's like, this is good tea. He talks so much.
I'm not
much of a tea drinker, but this is good tea. I don't really drink tea a lot, but
he's like,
this is good.
steep the leaves in brandy, and it's like this whole day I was like, of course it's drugged.
When's he gonna pass out? Yeah.
So he does. Wakes up.
Yeah. No, missing a leg.
missing a leg.
Yeah.
This was a very hard scene for him to watch. Everyone, if you've listened to the podcast, you should know I have a problem with losing limbs.
Yeah, it's
and it's Justin Long, so I'm really, really distraught here.
Right.
So he lost a leg, and he tells him this whole story about, you got bit by
a brown recluse spider.
Yeah, and the doctor came, and to save your life, he had to cut off your leg.
Yeah. But he's lying.
Obviously.
He's chiseling like what looks like a tusk.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because later we find stuff out.
Yeah. So then he like gives him another kind of tranquilizer that he can't really move his limbs, and he like reveals to him like, I've made this walrus suit, and I'm going to make you
wear it.
A walrus.
Yeah, and you have to act like a walrus, and you're gonna like it.
Yeah, and Justin Long is like screaming and all this stuff and gets knocked out. He does go like before that. He gets his cell phone.
Yeah,
and,
he's able to
call his girlfriend and Haley Joel Osment's character, and so they're like immediately like, oh my gosh, we got to go save him.
Mm. So they go to Canada to try to find him.
Right.
That's where they meet.
Meanwhile, the evil guy has removed Justin's other leg and is like sewing his
arms to his torso
to make him more walrus-like. Yeah. Now, when I was told this story, like what this movie was kind of about, it sounded way more interesting to me.
What do you mean?
I remember someone telling me that they sewed his legs together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that makes sense, because then he'd kind of have a body like a walrus.
Right, I thought that they did that too. I don't know.
That didn't happen. And then I think what happened was I got this movie mixed with Horns with Daniel Radcliffe. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that movie?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, and this is going to be really hilarious if I'm wrong.
I hope you are.
I think in that movie, like either he gets a curse put on him or whatever, so he like grows these horns.
Yeah.
And I think I got that confused with this to where someone put a curse on Justin Long and he would turn into a walrus.
Well, that would be cool too.
That sounds way better.
Yeah, this is disgusting because he's just surgically altered to become walrus-like.
He's harvested all this tissue. It can't all be from Justin Long.
No. They talk about how like
there's all these missing bodies or whatever. So he's like Frankensteined this walrus suit.
Yeah.
Together of flesh.
Right.
It is attached to Justin's head.
Yeah. I assume that's what's going on. The other interpretation is that this is all his body that he's like put all this extra skin onto.
It can't be.
No, it can't be.
There's no way.
Right. The way it wrinkles up, it makes me think it's a suit that he's in.
Yeah, it can't. It's so scary.
It looks disturbing and hilarious at the same time.
What the guy has done is he's taken, I would think,
his leg bones. They talk about it later.
Yeah.
And made them
your tibia.
Yeah,
that's your big leg bone. Your tibia, and like filed them into tusks.
Right.
Tusks. And has like inserted them into his jawbone.
Yeah, so he's got
that. He looks like a fucking weird walrus.
Yeah, he looks like a weird
and is like psychologically
broken.
Yeah, to be a walrus. He feeds him fish, he makes him try to swim, and he's like constantly telling him all these stories. He's ripped out his tongue so he can't talk back.
I hate that.
Eventually we get
the best scene ever. Is that what you're talking about?
The best scene ever. This is so hard to talk about.
I want to know what you're going to talk about because I want to talk about it. So go for it.
The guy, Howard, he's like, I never told you this, but I killed the other walrus.
Yeah, he had to eat it,
I had to eat him to survive.
Like crying while he eats it.
He's like, and he didn't fight back. And he's like, and you're going to fight back.
Yes! Okay, so I gotta say this. Howard puts on another walrus suit and forces him to fight, fighting each other. Howard wearing the suit is the funniest image to me because the suit looks like Justin Long's suit, but his face is just normal and it's like a hole.
It's got like these, two
tusks on the top of his head. And they're just like they're just running into each other and slapping each other.
It's a big old walrus
fight. Yeah. It looks so funny. It's so stupid.
And Justin Long does. He kills him.
Yeah,
which,
kills him.
In theory, this is not a good idea because
he's stuck there now.
Right, because who's going to take care of him? Because this guy's been feeding him.
Right.
Luckily, Haley Joel Osment's character, Johnny Depp, and his girlfriend
all show up at the
exact same time. And the poor girlfriend.
I know. This
can't.
Is horrifying. Like, just, I don't even want to. This is one of those movies where you can't put yourself
You can't because that would never happen.
Right. It's all so ridiculous. Johnny Depp's about to shoot him, but they're like, wait, no. And then it cuts to 1 year later. Okay, they go into like a sanctuary where apparently they're keeping him alive and he's there, part of the sanctuary, in an enclosure, living as a walrus. They didn't take him out of the suit or anything. They're not trying to help him or heal him or anything. They're just leaving him there.
They're just letting him be a walrus.
They're just letting him be a walrus.
They bring him a fish.
Bring him fish to eat, as if he wouldn't be like, can I have like steak or something? Like human food?
Right.
But I guess he's just so broken he's a walrus now. And the movie just ends with him.
And she's like, I love you.
Yeah, I still love you.
And he's just like,
yeah, I'm a walrus.
Because he can't talk.
Right. So... And that's the end of the movie. And you were like, I don't know what my mind is doing.
I don't know what to
right
feel.
Now. Right. I'm not okay, that's for sure.
No, I am deeply disturbed by this movie.
Which is what it tried to do.
I'm sure that's not what it intended to do.
Yes, it is.
This movie was absolute shit.
Yeah, it was awful. And I didn't love it. I expect... Oh, briefly, there's a scene where the detective goes to investigate the hockey player we keep mentioning.
Yeah.
And he it turns out he was talking to Howard Howe, who's in disguise as like some like old man who's like almost senile at this point. Yeah. I didn't know that it was Howard at first because he looks so different and he's talking in a weird, goofy voice. And you were like...
I'm like, that's the same person.
That's him. And I'm like, no, it's not. Stop. And you're like, it is. That scene lasts... I want to say about 45 minutes.
It feels like it.
Yeah.
It's ungodly long. They're talking about nothing.
Nothing at all.
It's not important to the story at all. It's just to get like more Johnny Depp in the movie.
So stuff like that scene. There's also a subplot where Teddy, the podcasting friend, Haley Joel Osment, is kind of having an affair with her, the girlfriend, because Justin Long is also like cheating on him
with everybody.
Yeah, so he's like trying to console his girlfriend.
I get it. This story is like making you not like Justin Long's character. Right. You don't, but nobody fucking deserves to be a fucking walrus.
Unless you're into that. In which case, I wonder how people who are into this feel about this movie.
I don't want to know them.
I don't want to know.
I don't want to know you. And if you listen to our podcast, please unsubscribe.
Wow. So that's
Tusk.
Tusk was a wild ride, I will say.
Let's go to our last movie because I have to move on.
Right.
I have to move on. I think you're just going to get just as wild about this next movie, if not more.
Let's see. I'm ready for
our repeat offender. Freddy's dead.
Freddy's
the final
dead.
Nightmare.
The final nightmare. Freddy 6. I have so many notes on this. This podcast is going to be 3 hours long. Let me just go through all of them. Okay.
This movie came out in 1991.
91. Okay.
A year before I was born.
So a bad year.
So bad year.
Bad year. We start off with the title card that says that all of the kids in Springwood, the first town where everything's been happening, have died. What? Okay. That's huge. That's what? All right, let's move on. There's the main character, one of them, John Doe, who's in a plane that he's sucked out of. It's all stupid and garbage. There's Wizard of Oz.
The Dream.
Yeah, there's Wizard of Oz music as Freddy flies around. He says, "I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul, too." And I'm thinking, this character has fallen so far.
Yeah, remember when you used to be like scared of Freddy Krueger?
I literally, watching this movie, I turned to you and I said, how can anyone be scared of Freddy after watching this movie? Yeah. Because this movie just destroys his character. Roseanne is in the movie. She shows
Roseanne
up.
Barr.
Yeah.
Tom Arnold, they make an appearance. They, shit on any movie or thing that they are involved in.
Right. At one point they go into a school where they're in Springwood, where a teacher who has gone completely just out of his mind is trying to he's got this chalkboard. I'm so interested in this chalkboard because it's written out and it's got all this a timeline of Freddy Krueger in it. It talks about Freddy being burned and all this stuff happens, but it has a reference to 1945 where it says specifically Hiroshima and Nagasaki tests fail. And I'm so curious about what that means and how it relates to Freddy Krueger. Right. And I want to know what else was on that chalkboard. I looked this up. I tried to find Freddy Krueger chalkboard scene, but the only thing that comes up is what happens immediately afterwards, which is there's this character who's deaf and Carlos and his death sequence. Carlos. His death sequence is actually kind of interesting.
This is about the best part of the movie.
It really probably is, even though it's stupid and cartoonish.
He gets sucked into a dream.
Yep. He has a hearing aid.
Right. He gets deafened by his mother, who is Freddy, and shoves a Q-tip all the way through his head and
cuts his ear off.
Yeah, and all this other stuff. So, as the audience perspective, you're, just hearing what a deaf person normally hears, was just kind of just, your heartbeat and breathing and that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. But then, gets a hearing aid. It's incredibly loud. Freddy's dropping all these needles that sound like bombs and all this other
He pulls out a chalkboard, which is what comes up, and starts scratching at it.
Oh, that makes my soul shiver.
Yeah.
That's, honestly, one of the worst sounds in the world.
It really is, yeah. His head explodes. He dies. Sorry.
Yeah.
There is, speaking of Johnny Depp.
Yes, we get a cameo from him in this movie.
I think this is pretty neat, too.
Johnny, you're not making it this year.
Very famous commercial from the 80s, Johnny Depp, this is your brain on drugs. They bring him back for this movie, and they do a parody of that on the TV, which I actually think is pretty cool.
I think that's cool, yeah.
If this movie were good, that would be a really, really neat little Easter egg in the movie, but the movie sucks. There is... Okay, so Breckin Myers is in the movie, and he plays this young kid. He plays video games all the time. I've never hated anything. Jody?
I know what you're going to say.
I've never hated anything in this world, in the universe. I've never hated anything more than his death scene. As much as Carlos's was the best thing in this movie,
I think there are things that you do hate more.
No.
I could call them out right now if I really wanted to be mean.
They suck. He's sucked into a video game that Freddy Krueger is playing. It looks like a Philips CDI Zelda game. It's just a cartoon. It looks. Oh, it's so garbage. This movie. I'm getting mad.
I was gonna say you can hardly get through this, and I knew you would get this angry at this movie.
I can't believe that anyone would do this and make this movie and not stop themselves. Like how do you?
I can't believe how flustered you are.
How is this possible? This movie is so. It's so bad. It looks ugly. It looks terrible.
Freddy is disappointing in this movie.
Yes. Freddy is a bad character.
His visually.
What is going on with him?
His makeup is smooth. It's not wet. It's not glistening. It's not muscly. Yeah. It's not burnt. It's baby face.
It's baby face. Why is it why does he look so?
That's what drives me.
Why does he look so cute,
nuts.
quote unquote, in this movie?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't get it. I'm so mad.
We get this whole plot about Freddy has a daughter.
Yeah, well, he has a child. We don't know who it is at first.
Who fucking cares?
Yeah, none of this matters. I do think the scene where they're driving in the van and John Doe, who he thinks that he's the son, is sucked out of it. I think that's pretty cool because he's just immediately pulled out of this van and then he's cut in from a parachute and he falls. I think that's neat, but it's not worth it.
None of it is worth it.
No, not at all. Then so the movie establishes a lot of weird rules about Elm Street being important to Freddy Krueger instead of just the name of the movie. It's he has to be on Elm Street. He has to be in Springwood in order for his powers to work. This has never
been a thing.
He makes a comment either in this movie or it might have been even in the last one where he says every town has an Elm Street, which again, Elm Street doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He can do this anywhere that's not tied into his magic or whatever. Yep. Somebody asks him how he can do this, and he talks about the dream people,
which they tried to kind of set up at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
but
the dream people is one of the dumbest things I've ever.
The dream
heard
sperm is what they say. The dream sperm gave me this job because that's what they look like. Yeah. Demon sperm.
So yeah, he was just kind of hired by these dream people.
The second that he was supposed to die.
Yeah, as he was dying, he was like, wait, I want to live. I want to be a killer.
And they're
in
okay,
dreams.
we'll be the.
Do you remember how good the first movie is?
Yeah.
Do you remember how scary it was?
I was? Yeah.
Think about the first movie and then think about this movie and just cry. I'm so
cry for me, Argentina.
Do cry for me, Argentina. Then the whole final part of this movie is in 3D. It looks terrible.
Randomly.
It looks ugly.
Which, when this came out in theater, did we have 3D glasses?
Yeah.
That you only had to wear for the last 10 minutes of this movie?
I guess. I imagine there was a prompt that said, "Put on your 3D glasses." Now that's how they would do this.
Oh my god, I don't even know.
Yeah, Maggie, his daughter. That's his daughter, by the way, and it's not. She doesn't treat this as mind blowing or life changing. That my father is Freddy Krueger, the famous murder killer.
Right.
She has to go into the dreams to stop him. It looks so ugly. This whole CG 3D sequence is so disgusting, and it's awful. So yeah, they shoot him a bunch and he explodes, and I can't believe how bad this movie is. I can't believe how bad the Breckin Myers death scene is. Embarrassing to watch. We don't deserve movies because of that. And that's Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. I'm angry for having watched it, and I wish that I hadn't. So now I guess it's time to pair it off against Tusk.
And now it will battle to the death with Tusk.
I think we probably are really going to have a real strong battle here.
Oh, okay.
I think Freddy 6 is the worst.
No, Tusk is definitely worse.
No, you're wrong. Freddy 6, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, is so bad that I refuse to remember if it's that movie or The Final Friday from Jason 4.
That's so true. That's so true.
Even though The Final Friday, Jason 4, is not a bad movie.
No, it's not.
Pretty good. This movie is so bad, it makes me feel ill. I watch this movie and I see red. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
I have never I don't think I've ever given up on a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to give up on Tusk. Yeah. Like, I looked at the ceiling and I was like, what is happening? I don't know, and I don't care.
I get it, but I think a lot of that you were meant to feel. I think this movie is supposed to be weird. I think it's supposed to be disturbing and gross. I think it's supposed to be funny. I think
it's not funny, though.
But it is.
No, it's just fucking weird.
They wouldn't have Johnny Depp as this French dude if they didn't want you to laugh at it.
It's annoying. It's not funny.
Right.
I don't find it funny.
Okay.
And I think it hurts Justin Long's career. I would love to know if he is like in on the joke that I'm just apparently not getting.
Yes, I think everybody is. This movie is a joke. It's from the beginning. It's a joke. The whole thing is a joke. I think it's like weirdly artistic in a lot of ways too. Like the scene where it's revealed that she's sleeping with Haley Joel Osment. It's like the slow zoom in on her face as she's just giving this like really good.
But again, at the beginning of that scene, you're just like, the fuck is happening to the walrus man?
Right. It cuts from Wallace, the walrus. Yeah, I agree. It's not a good movie. I don't love it.
I really want to say Tusk is the worst of the two.
And I get it, but like... I get it. I want to pull up the Breckin Myers death scene and be like, if you don't say that this is the worst anything of all time, I don't understand how you can function as a human.
I can't believe we do this to ourselves every year.
Yeah.
I really don't want to back down from this.
I know, and I really don't. I can't. So Tusk, I believe, I understand it.
Like, I don't. See, I don't. Okay. I don't. Right. And I just know that in 1991, like, they didn't have much. And so, like, they were just literally like, we need money and we have to make another Freddy Krueger movie. So they pulled elements from all 5 of the movies before and just tried to put it together to make a new movie.
Sure.
To satisfy the hunger out there.
Right.
They had to make it.
Right.
They had to make this movie.
Okay.
Nobody asked for Tusk. Nobody.
You are peaking so hard right now, and I can't turn the microphone down any further.
Nobody asked for Tusk.
You're right about that. But Freddy 6 is the movie that's like so bad you're just baffled and laughing the whole time.
No.
Whereas Tusk is a bad movie that makes you angry and you don't want to be watching it, right? Am I wrong about that?
Right, so it's worse.
Well, think back about Troll 2 versus Jaws 4. It's the exact same debate. Jaws 4 is a bad movie that I hate to watch because it's bad, and Troll 2 is fun, and I'm laughing at it. It's the exact same as this. So if you give Tusk the win here, and you don't give Jaws 4 the win in the last one, I'm going to shut this podcast down right now.
We're going on the same principles, though.
I don't think so.
Yes, we are.
I think you've switched your position, and I think I have too.
No.
Okay. All right.
I would rather pick the movie that has nothing attached to it than something that is attached to something that is good.
Ow. Okay. That hurt my brain. But
which is exactly what I did for Jaws 4.
I feel very strongly that the audience will agree with me that Tusk is meant to be the way it is, and Freddy 6 is just a failure.
I will have you know that the people that we asked, I heard more people say that Tusk is a worse movie. And I don't think I had on anybody's list besides yours and BuzzFeed have it be Freddy's dead.
Right. Most of the time, movies that are part of a franchise don't get considered because it's all just
That's
part
not
of the
true.
franchise. Well, I think it is.
That's not true.
But I think that if we're talking about movies that are worse than
Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 is a remake, and there's a million Jason ones that are on. Jason X, everybody hates Jason X, and
okay, I disagree. I think that Freddy 6 is worse than Tusk, and I don't know what we're gonna do about this because I don't think you'll ever convince me.
You always make me do this.
So we either have to make a choice, or I don't know what's gonna happen. I genuinely believe Tusk is supposed to be the way that it is. And I think Freddy 6 is not supposed to be that way. I think it's just a failure on every sense of the term. Tusk did its job. Tusk made you upset and disturbed.
You too.
Well, yeah, right.
Freddy's Dead did that to you.
Because it massacred movies. That was the true horror.
I think think Tusk massacred cinema.
Okay. So what do you want to do?
We will give it to Freddy's Dead.
Yes! Victory!
But I am encouraging everyone to never watch Tusk.
I would agree with that.
Do not do it.
Okay, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I hate that I watched it.
Yeah, I wanted to get that time back after watching it. I thought it had some stuff that I was like, but it just wasn't
I can't even, like, from here, I won't be able to make jokes like, oh, this is like Tusk. No, because it's just so awful. And that podcast should be greatly ashamed of the demon that they have created in this world.
I agree. All right, so, thank you for we finally managed to come to a consensus. Now we will do to the top of the slot. We get to the bottom.
Now we will do bracket 2.
Bracket 2. What do we have? We have from round 1.
Okay, let's go back to our winner in round 1, Dead End.
Dead End.
Our winner in round 2, The Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man. I know which one I'm gonna give it to.
I know as well.
Is it Wicker Man?
It's The Wicker Man.
Dead End just has a lot going for it, I think. And The Wicker Man, it's such a weird gift of a movie. So
well, that was easy.
Great. All right.
I'm glad since we spent all that time arguing about the other one.
Awesome.
Okay.
This is gonna get hard.
This is it. Silent Night, Deadly Night 2
versus
Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare.
Oh, wow, this one's really tough. So
we need to come up with better rules of what we mean by like worse.
Yeah, because
I would rather watch Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
I would as well.
But Freddy's Dead is a worse movie.
It's a worse movie. Again, it goes back to the Jaws 4 Troll 2 thing where Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, another 2 movie, is so awful in just the best ways, what you want out of a movie. You're laughing at it and you're like, yes, I'm so glad this happened. Whereas Freddy 6 is so baffling and so awful in so many ways, but not the right ones. It's hard to justify and it's just a travesty.
Right.
So it's really hard to tell. It depends on what angle you want to go at it from.
I want to give it to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 because it's only half a movie.
Yeah,
they didn't even bother to make a whole movie.
I will say that. And Freddy 6 also recycles a lot from old movies, a lot of the stuff.
But they didn't use the exact same footage.
It's at least the very least I can say about Freddy 6 is that it's all new It's a movie. It's a full movie.
Yeah, it's a full movie.
And Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 is
at least get enjoyment out of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
If anything, just for the Ricky character. He's such
just
a
for the
weird
eyebrows.
The eyebrows alone.
So we're doing it?
I guess we will. I guess we have to. Now, I want to know what if we had Tusk on there, what would you say?
Oh, God. I would have to say Tusk.
Really?
Yeah.
You think Tusk would beat out Silent Night, Deadly Night 2?
Because it's just that bad.
Wow.
So there's my thought. So this whole thing is askew for nothing, but whatever.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Wow.
Round 3.
This is the final round, right?
Dun, 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 dun. Okay, here we go.
I don't know what that was, but sure.
That was my here we come.
Okay. Let's do it.
The Wicker Man
versus
Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
This is very hard.
This is probably the hardest we've ever had.
This is way harder than last year. I don't understand.
Yeah. So, honestly, it's a weird thing because I think The Wicker Man is... You might be fooled into believing that it's good. If you had this movie on mute, it looks fine. It's
cinematically
right.
A good movie.
It's competently made. It just has some very weird
actual
choices.
Known actors.
Yes, it does. But it just has so many weird moments that are so unexplained. Like there's a scene where he's talking to the blonde woman who's like, come away with me. And they get into this weird conversation about like, what's happening the day of tomorrow. And they're like,
she's like, I told you. And
the day after tomorrow?
Yeah.
No, what's happening tomorrow? And she's like, I already told you. And he's like, oh yeah. But
and then we're like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
what is happening? And then she's like, take me with you. And it's like, what connection do the two of these people have? Why is she weirdly flirting with him and why is he into it? Like, it doesn't make sense. But then there's Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, which has Garbage Day in it. And has just... Oh, my God.
Okay.
What do you say?
What are you saying?
I think I am going to have a brain aneurysm.
I want to put both of these movies deep into the ground.
I know. I want to bury them and never think of them again. I guess I gotta say Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Oh, but I hate it. I hate to do it. I really want Wicker Man to win.
I think you made the right choice.
Yeah, you would agree? Okay.
I'm going to agree.
All right.
Because as it was going up against Freddy's Dead, it is only half a movie.
You're right. The fact that 40 minutes of the movie is just a retelling of the first one is unexcusable.
I could at least go back and watch The Wicker Man and be like, and try to put the pieces together a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I know everything I need to know about Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and I will take it for the face value of I got a really good laugh out of it.
Yeah. There's so many moments that are just like, yes. Even The Wicker Man has some great, funny moments to it, but it's not the same. Right. I feel like when I'm watching Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, I'm standing up and cheering at everything that happens. I'm like, yes, that was awesome and stupid and awful. But Wicker Man, I'm just like, what? So, did that movie win?
That movie has won our second season episode of the worst horror movies. Goes to Silent Night,
Deadly Night 2. Garbage day.
I'm ready to take a long slumber.
Yes. Slumber Party Massacre? Is that a hint to our next?
It is not.
Oh.
I'm going to take a deep slumber into my grave because next week we are talking about vampires.
We are. Okay. So these movies have sucked the life out of me.
Absolutely. And so I'm ready to rejuvenate with fresh blood.
Yes.
I love vampires. I'm very excited for this next coming week.
Me too. Let's so we talked about bad horror movies, and now let's put a stake through their heart and
never think about them again.
Right. We won't be doing this next year.
We will. We absolutely will.
All right.
That has been this week's episode of What Makes It Scary. What makes it scary? Tusk. Tusk makes it scary. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at CleverGirl, the letter F and the letter X.
I'm on Twitter at Mr. Spelled Out the Long Way, Red2342. That's at Mr. Red 2342.
Please follow our podcast at Makes It Scary.
Do it. Yeah.
Do it. Absolutely.
We'd love to know what you guys thought. If you thought Tusk was
if you
as
agree
bad
with us, don't watch it though. Unless you've already watched it, do not watch it.
Yeah.
It will haunt you the rest of your life. Absolutely. Okay. But next week, fresh blood. We're talking about vampires.
Can't wait for it.
Send us, tweet us, message us your favorite vampire movies because we are going to be watching them.
Definitely. And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
All right, now I need a shot.